And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 7th round of the 10th season of the Bandit Racing League and the Geezer Authentics Xfinity Series. We come to you this week from the virtual Kansas Speedway out here in the lovely Kansas, Missouri. And, well, what a race we should be in for this week. Kansas back to the intermediate racetracks, a discipline of racing that has created some really great racing in the past year in the Bandit Racing League, and one that has created some great racing even as of the last time we were in the Xfinity cars back in Season 8, a race that was won by Nick Nickerson. And, well, tonight we will see if that can be repeated. Nick is coming off of 2 consecutive wins, most notably last week at Indianapolis, so we'll see if he can do it again this week. But as I mentioned, we are in the Geezer Authentics Xfinity Series, and hopefully the temporary little hiccups we had there connection-wise just a moment ago at the start of the broadcast have now subsided, and we can get ready to go for tonight's race. But with that being said, everybody, hi, I am, as always, your host, your broadcast producer, your coordinator here on Full Send Racing Network, whatever you want to call me. I am Marshall Crocker Jr., and I'll be hosting you guys tonight here on the Full Send Racing Network, and I'll be doing so solo. So for tonight's coverage of the Bandit Racing League's There's No Place Like Home 125 at Kansas, it'll be just me by myself, but we'll make it work. We've done it in the past, and that just means I get to go to you guys more, try to get you guys involved, and definitely try to get some driver interviews wherever possible throughout the cautions tonight. But as I mentioned, tonight is the There's No Place Like Home 125, of course a reference to the famous film Wizard of Oz, a film that I would argue is one of the top 5 most famous, maybe even pieces of media of all time, very well known by everybody. But it's a race sponsored tonight by Kevin Foster, our driver in our series that of course has a very close connection to us. He is our primarily representative for Perfect Shine Auto Spa, one of our possibly our biggest series sponsor. So he has been so near and dear to the series in the past, but tonight he is sponsoring tonight's race on behalf of his parents. Just kind of a fun shout out thing to his mom and dad, Kelly and Bill in Pensacola, Florida. So if you guys are watching, this is a shout out to you guys from Mr. Kevin Foster, driver of the number 8 car for GFR Racing. But hopefully the race being a reference to Wizard of Oz, and of course Kansas, where the film primarily takes place prior to going to Oz. Hopefully this is in some way kind of a maybe an inside thing for you guys, and hopefully you guys have a special connection to that. So Kevin just wanted to take a moment to sponsor the series, as always, to support the broadcast and the series, the Greater Bandit Racing League as a whole, but also wanted to give a shout out there to his parents. So thank you, Kevin, and of course, if you guys are interested in sponsoring a race, as always, you can go through the Bandit Racing League to do so. There's a variety of social medias and a variety of contacts for all the various series members on the Bandit Racing League website, and I plug it almost weekly, so I'm sure you guys will see it before too long. But yeah, what a season we've had so far here in Bandit Racing League Season 10. We have a lot to talk about. So for starters, let's just kind of show you the schedule. I feel like I never get it up quite early enough to give you guys full context for the weeks we have in the future. So let's start there. We'll talk a little bit about where we're going the rest of the month, and then from there we'll talk about where we've been and go over the points here for the last series race, or as of the last series race at Indianapolis. But first, before we go too far, here is the schedule for Bandit Racing League Season 10 as of the last couple weeks. So last week, as I mentioned, we were at Indianapolis on the 18th of May, and well, now we are here on the 25th here at Kansas. This will round off the month and will actually lead us into our 1 week break. So you guys get a week off on Wednesday next week. You know, tuning in for the Bandit Racing League every week. We absolutely love the support, and of course we appreciate it like nothing else. But at a certain point, we definitely want you guys to get a chance to take a week off. You know, take your Wednesday night and do whatever else. And then be back here and excited and ready to go for our return to the series at Atlanta on the 8th of June. So you guys get a week off, and we'll be back very soon. But with that being said, here's the current point standings heading into tonight's race here at Kansas tonight, coming out of Indianapolis, the first round of the Rogue Energy Triple Header Challenge last week. And, well, your current points leader is the guy who's at 3 wins on the season, including 2 in a row these last 2 weeks, Mr. Nick Nickerson for GFR Racing, 280 points. What a season it's been. Just the consistency we're used to seeing from him, not just in the series, but even the last time we were in the Xfinity cars, when he did win this race at Kansas a couple seasons back. This is the consistency we saw from him, and we kind of see from him every year around the middle of the year. So we're seeing it again. And, it hasn't been an easy year, I should say, for the 2 car of Nick Nickerson. Certainly not like many would kind of anticipate seeing the dominance he had in these cars in the Xfinity Series a couple years back, because he's got Curtis Yancey and Benjamin Lacy nipping at his heels. And it's important to mention Curtis Yancey in that top 3 because he is currently winless on the season to this point, and really the reason that he's so high up in the points, he's been so competitive to this point in the season, is just his consistency. Curtis has been stellar, just racking up the points week in, week out, avoiding those mistakes that we've seen from him in the past. And right now he's sitting up there, up in second on the leaderboard. Could potentially take the points lead tonight, depending on if maybe Nick has some struggles or any form of adversity whatsoever. So we'll see about that. But Benjamin Lacy, 2 wins on the season. He's been competitive all the way through. He was competitive last week at Indy, led a number of laps there. So could be a good night for him tonight here at Kansas. And with that, as you see the graphics resetting on screen, we are getting ready to go here for qualifying. So we're going to go 10 minutes, 2 laps apiece for each driver as they run individually, and that'll give us a chance to talk a little bit more about your field, maybe take some laps around with a couple drivers and get used to this mile and a half, I should say, intermediate racetrack here at Kansas Speedway. So there's your top 18 here in the points, and well, that's all we'll show for now, but there is your overall leaderboard. Brett Guzik, Joshua McQuiggan, Ricky Hart Jr., Mark Allen Bivens, Alec Daffin, Jason Greenwell, Eddie Hagee, and Jonathan Baker. Kevin Foster, tonight's race sponsor, just below the cutoff line. That is your order. That is your field for the Championship 11 currently. Remember, the top 11 drivers in overall points, so wins do no longer lock you into the playoffs as they did in seasons past, including season 9. Instead, you got to make your way in on points. You got to be consistent the entire year, and if you can do that, you get a chance to run for the chase for the championship here in the Bandit Racing League in the last 5 rounds of the season. So with that, we are getting ready to go here for qualifying. Let's take a lap around with a couple drivers. They're going to go side by side here with me and one of our drivers, just taking a lap around, and we'll kind of analyze the lap here at Kansas and see how it compares to a variety of other mile-and-a-half tracks in the schedule, because this is kind of NASCAR's bread and butter discipline, I would say, is tracks of this size, moderately banked. There's a lot of complaints oftentimes in racing and in the NASCAR circles about how these tracks can get repetitive, and there are a lot of them, but certainly I think Kansas has its own interesting flavor, and at least as of the real NASCAR landscape, it's created some really exciting races in the past. So we are just waiting for some stuff to pop up here, and should be good to go. But yeah, riding on board currently with Joshua McQuiggan. And Joshua McQuiggan's a guy who really this year, again, I talked about him plenty last season when possible, because he was definitely a guy that on his day could show a lot of pace. And I think pace from a new driver to the series is really probably the first thing you want to showcase, because a number of drivers in this series can be consistent. It can come out every week and put up fairly competitive results as far as consistent week-to-week point scoring. But to put in the pace to have a top 5, a top 3 qualifying performance, or even better in the race, to really run even with some of the best in the series in a lap-by-lap basis, that's not easy to do. And some guys can do it, and some guys can't. And Joshua McQuiggan last year definitely was quick, and he's been quick so far again tonight. Trying to get your graphics up here, ladies and gentlemen, to show the current order here in qualifying, but just having some trouble. So just give me a moment, and we should get it up here momentarily. Maybe just going to be one of those nights. Sometimes in broadcasting you have those occasions where just nothing seems to want to work for you. We had a particularly good week, I would say, last week, and hopefully tonight is not the start of that downfall. But here we go. Should hopefully be getting stuff up right about now. Still continuing to struggle here, but we will get it figured out momentarily. There we go. Took it long enough, but we are now set and ready to go. So I'm going to follow along with a couple other drivers as they finish up their lap attempts here tonight in qualifying. One driver as such is Benjamin Lacy, driver of the number 7. And of course, I talked about a little bit earlier in the pre-race about how important Benjamin's kind of turnaround this year has been, as far as he has really kicked it into gear in regards to the early season wins. He's showed an end of race, a really general pace that, not to say Benjamin wasn't a quick driver in the past, but he's really kicked it into another gear this season. And yeah, what a year it's been for him so far, and looking for win number 3 tonight at a track that I think could appeal to Benjamin quite well. Runs a lot of intermediate ovals and a lot of tracks that I wouldn't say are super tire wear dependent, but definitely tracks where his ability to conserve, his ability to play the long game can come in handy, in addition to his newfound pace that he's shown on a lap-to-lap basis this entire season. So going to John Graham now, driver of the number 96 here, heading on the low side of the banking here at Kansas Speedway. So as you can see, kind of a gradual progressive banking, not particularly super high here at Kansas. Definitely going to be a track where you have to play the gas, play the brake as the stint goes on, and going to be a little bit technical. So John Graham is going to go 29th here provisionally at the start of qualifying, now down to 30th, but Guy just finished up his lap heading off the track, who just put in the fastest time of qualifying so far. We have actually 6 more minutes to go. It's a rather long session, but that driver's Jonathan Baker, a guy that I've picked for the win the last few weeks here on the Full Send Racing Network broadcast booth. And, well, let's go back and see. Maybe we can get a replay of his lap here and just go back and see what Jonathan Baker did there in the number 36 car to put in the fastest time of the qualifying session so far. And it looks like provisionally is going to be the fastest time. No other drivers are starting new lap attempts as we speak. So let's hop on board here in the 36 cockpit and see what he was doing to make that lap time so darn quick. So going right down to the apron here on the tri-oval. Back up into the outside of the lane, getting ready for the turn 1 entry zone. And he stays very wide, actually. Just carrying a lot of speed, kind of running the wall. Could be a track without that outside line, that wall line. Really comes in handy, and it's interesting when it does because it means that passing can really happen anywhere. You'll see more slide jobs now that the bottom line isn't quite so dominant like we kind of saw it be at Indianapolis. But a really just solid line. Jonathan Baker keeping the hand steady. You can see the way the wheel turns and just little gradual movements, not overcorrecting, not seesawing too much. And nice solid lap by Baker. That's going to put him P1 provisionally. And again, nobody else on track besides the sole exception of Brandon Jackson, who's currently on track right now, driver the number 99. Action Jackson, we call him. And it's been a pretty good start to the year for Action Jackson so far. I mean, again, has yet to score that first debut win so far this season, but he's come darn close a couple times, showed that pace we know Brandon for. And the question is, with this current playoff format that we have for season number 10, with wins not locking you into the playoffs, you have to do it on points to be in the top 11. I just think it's gonna be tough for Brandon, being a guy that can really knock it out of the park. He's a swing for the fences type of driver where he could absolutely run with the best of them and dominate on any given week, or he could have tracks that just don't work for him. We've seen that before, and if you have a lot of those tracks over the course of the season, it's really tough to pile up points to such an extent that you can go for the championship. So we'll see with Brandon here, but tonight, well, he's currently running 30th there in that first lap, but I don't think he got a clean lap hooked up, and hopefully this one is going to be the one for him. We're coming across the line. Where does Jackson put himself? He's going to go to the pole. Look at that. Ties Jonathan Baker to the 100th at least, as far as the thousandths. Well, the telemetry doesn't even show that close, but there you go. Glad we were able to catch the pole lap live. It looked smooth and looked clean from my perspective, but Brandon Jackson there looking like the favorite here with just a couple minutes left in qualifying, and again, no other drivers on track. Looking like the favorite to take the Rogue Energy Pole Award, but here comes another driver that I wouldn't be surprised if he took away that award from Brandon. It's Kevin Foster, sponsor of tonight's race, the Houston, Texas native here in the There's No Place Like Home 125 at Kansas. Up to the high side, going to run a lot lower than we saw Jonathan Baker run. A very different racing line here from the number 8 car, but the GFR Racing driver coming back up off of turn number 4, getting a pretty clean run, going to go right to the tri-oval. Where is he going to put himself on lap number 1? Going to move up, not into the top 10. Currently going to slot into the 20s at the moment. We will see. There he is, Kevin Foster. Or no, that's not even Kevin Foster. I'm not particularly sure where he is gone on the timing tower, but he's got one more lap. We saw with pretty much every driver here in qualifying that second lap was a little bit quicker for them. 14th is where Kevin Foster is going to place here in qualifying, at least as of the first lap. Here we go, second attempt. Probably going to be the final lap for anybody of qualifying. Can he put himself in the top 5, top 10 in a sponsored race here at Kansas? No, he cannot, it would appear. Going to stay 14th, and that lap is going to be all the number 8 can register. But still, 14th, top half of the field, not a very bad spot whatsoever. And Kansas, I think, definitely going to be a track that is more favorable to passing than last week's race at Indiana. So don't be surprised if we see that 14th turn into a top 10 and maybe even turn into a little bit better than that. Gets a valuable insight here from Dawson Guzik here in the race chat. So seeing that the top is, or saying that the top of the wall line, that wider line, almost the Larson line you can call it typically, is going to be the faster line for most of the drivers in tonight's race, and that bottom line maybe not quite so favorable as it was, I mentioned last week in Indianapolis, where that was kind of the only way to go. And talking about how quick the tire fall off here is going to be, as he's saying, about 1.5 to 2 seconds here, just in 20 laps of tire usage. We see Kevin Foster actually still on track, just running some more laps, maybe getting warmed up, maybe getting fired up for tonight's race. But yeah, 20 lap fall off, 2 second difference. That's going to make strategy so crucial tonight as far as trying to maximize time on those fresh tires. And the longer that stint at the end of the race goes, the more favorable it'll be if we get a late race caution for somebody to be that one guy to take the risk and maybe take a late set of tires, because, well, that all that pace, you could make up 10, 15 spots in just a couple laps. So we'll see if that happens to be the case, but tonight, again, we're just waiting for tonight's race to get started, and in just a moment, we can declare your Rogue Energy Pole Award winner for the night, but I think we already watched that Pole Award winner take his pole lap a little bit earlier in the race, but we're just waiting. Want to make definitively sure before we crown that. It's 30 more seconds to go. And we'll be ready for tonight's race. Again, remember that tonight's race is the There's No Place Like Home 125 here at Kansas. A reference, of course, to the famous film Wizard of Oz. And I have kind of a personal, close relationship to Wizard of Oz. I was in a Wizard of Oz play in 7th grade. I played the Tin Man. It was infamously terrible. I'm still upset because my singing teacher, my theater teacher, made me sing an entire octave higher than my voice range can normally go. So try to picture this voice in a squeaky recorder-like tone, trying to sing a song in the voice of a Tin Man, singing about how he doesn't have a heart. So there's my personal connection to Kansas Speedway, and feel free to leave in the chat below if you guys have any special connection to arguably one of the most iconic films of all time. I'd argue kind of a multi-generational film that I'm sure pretty much everybody in here has it probably seen. But with that, again, thank you, and thank you to Kevin Foster for sponsoring tonight's event, and again, shout out to Kevin Foster's parents, those being Kelly and Bill in Pensacola, Florida.
Hey, Marshall.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Hey, sorry to interrupt you. I want to make sure that you know about the tribute that we're doing on lap 1.
Yep, I saw it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much for dropping out. Good broadcast.
Thank you. And with that, we are now getting ready to go here. We mentioned the tribute, and we'll get to that in just a moment, but where is the man? This is a very close-up camera angle, so let's get a little bit further. There's the guy we're looking for here. Tonight's Rogue Energy Pole Award winner, his first of the season here. He's a little bit cut off there on the cam, kind of camera shy, that number 99 car, but there he is. Brandon Jackson going to be your Rogue Energy Pole Award winner for tonight's race. And again, thank you to Rogue Energy, as always, for joining back on this season as a series sponsor. Remember to go to rogueenergy.com, their new website, updated with their new merch, new flavors, and everything like that. And they're going to use code Castle Esports, or you can use code Castle Esports, I should say. And when you do so, you'll get some pretty sweet discounts, and you'll also rep the series as a result. So thank you so much to Rogue Energy, as always, for sponsoring our Pole Award, and that will provide a decal that Brandon Jackson could put on his car for the remainder of the season. So there we go. Congrats to the number 99. And again, I'm hoping for Brandon. I know Brandon is a fan favorite to many drivers or many fans in this series, and hopefully tonight could be the start of a pretty good series of races for him. That being said, we can now get started on your starting grid, your starting lineup here, presented by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. Sorry, let's just get that up for you. So here we go, starting grid here for tonight's race at Kansas. There's No Place Like Home 125, and on the pole, it's going to be Brandon Jackson, driver of the number 99. To his outside, Jonathan Baker, who ran the fastest lap for most of qualifying there. Row number 2, the fan favorite, Cody Welch, starting alongside Brett Guzik. Then it's Nickerson starting alongside Mr. Joshua McQuiggan there on row number 3. Then we got Benny Hogan starting alongside Ricky Hart Jr. for GFR Racing. Tony Hilbrands and Alec Daffin on row number 5. Curtis Yancey and Jackson Knock on row number 6. Trey Ellis and Kevin Foster starting 13th and 14th. Ismael Padilla followed by David Lakey. Then it's Christopher Hamilton, Connor Gibson, Jonas Lazater, and Benjamin Lacy, 2-time race winner this season, back in 20th. They round off the top 20. Then it's Nolan Gross, Gary Moore Jr., Michael Ramos, Garrett Hall, Alan Castle, Keegan Clark, Steve Ulrich, Bill Harkins now running the 5 car, Gary Wright, Hunter Henry, Robert Mathis, John Graham, Jason Greenwell, Mark Ellen Bivens, Brett Grunwald, Hayden Paul, and Eddie Haggy. And as we start tonight's race, we want to announce that as we go green here, we'll be doing a one-lap tribute to the recent school shooting that took place in Texas recently this past week, and the drivers will be doing one more lap under pace speed as we go to green. So we'll do a moment of silence, do a lap before we go green here at Kansas for tonight's race. And with that, we now go to green. Green flag for the second lap, which will effectively start our race here tonight. And There's No Place Like Home 125 here at Kansas. Brandon Jackson leads us to the green, and off the jump, Cody Welch getting a great start here. The fan favorite moving up down the inside of Jonathan Baker on the inside of the line, follows behind the 99. And he is going to take over second place. Down the backstretch, Nick Nickerson's already up 2 spots. He's looking for win number 3 in a row. And Ricky Hart Jr. going with him, the teammate for GFR Racing. He's up 3 spots on the lap 1. Make that 4 as he almost gets by Jonathan Baker. Might get him through the tri-oval, but Nickerson down to block Hart here through the tri-oval this first time by. Jackson still your leader. Side by side go Welch and Nickerson. What a start to the race. Welch up to the high side, Nickerson on the bottom. We still think that top line is more favorable as far as carrying momentum off the corners. Probably going to be better on tires too. Now down to the inside goes Welch. Cody Welch throws it side by side with Brandon Jackson, and just like that, 1 week removed from taking a week off there at Indianapolis, suddenly the Flushing, Michigan native, the fan favorite Cody Welch, looking to end that winless streak that's been active since season 8 there at Rockingham, is now going to the point. But here goes Jackson, backed by Brandon Jackson, your pole sitter, your Rogue Energy Pole Award winner. He's not going to wait around too long. We are still side by side here on lap 4 at Kansas. Further back, we're seeing some slicing and dicing around. I think Curtis Yancey side by side with the green number 04 of Brett Guzik. Guzik down to the inside, going to kind of slide up there for a moment, but evens it back out. Those guys going to really squeeze each other up to the outside wall, but get through it clean. Guzik takes that spot. Here comes the number 11 of Benny Hogan. He's running the 11 this week. Harkin's running the 5, and that'll be that way for the rest of the season. He and Bill Harkin swapping numbers, and that number 11 car is holding its spot from 11th in qualifying, currently 11th in the race. But back up front, we got a battle now for second as Cody Welch has now effectively taken the race lead in its entirety, is now scooting off away and trying to open up that gap. Again, looking to end that winless streak that we try not to talk about on the broadcast anymore for a jinx, but the longer Cody continues to lead, of course, it's going to be hard not to mention it. But Nickerson getting a spot, Baker getting a spot, guys starting to get around the number 99 of Jackson, maybe just burn up the tires a little bit too much there, just battling with Cody at the beginning. And if tire wear is as brutal as it sounds like it's going to be tonight, that could very well be a situation for Brandon where just a couple laps of battling, suddenly he finds himself out of the groove, and definitely would have wanted to get up there in front of the number 1 of Ricky Hart Jr. Instead goes to the bottom, going to try to send it in, slide back up in front of him and keep the spot. We'll see if he can do it. It's going to be close. I think Ricky is going to clear, though. Going to get around him here through the tri-oval and try to make it another spot. Brandon loses here in the first couple laps at Kansas. But again, up front, Welch continuing to hold his ground, and Nickerson staying with him within about 3/10 as you can see up front of these guys. But no, for the time being, it remains the Cody Welch show. And now it's Baker, Hart, and Jackson, the back end of the top 5. Currently the biggest mover of the race, and the biggest mover here in the top 10 is Curtis Yancey, up 5 spots from 11th. Remember, the number 51 car, currently second in the series point standings, and we are seeing why right now as he slices and dices his way through the field. We know Curtis is really quick on those short runs. That's been well documented in the past. The question is over the longer runs. How can he conserve tires at a track that is very rubber dependent? That's the bigger question, and I have confidence the way he's driving this season, he can definitely do it, but it's not going to be something you can just passively do. You're going to want to prioritize those wider entries to the corner, and that's something Brandon Jackson still isn't doing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just a situation where the way he's kind of driving it through the corners, it's more sustainable. He's not too worried about tire wear, but it just felt like the pace that we saw in qualifying and in those first couple laps, he's just not been able to mimic those guys up front. And speaking of those guys up front, that gap between the top 2 has gotten a little bit smaller, now down to half of what it was at 3/10. We're at 1/10.5 between the 85 and the number 2. But as we come off of turn number 2, you can really see just how close these cars are here at Kansas. Going to make for competitive racing. That top line, guys can really send it in and fall behind one another. Don't need to worry about dirty air backing off all too much in order to not slide up into the corner. So as we see, we go to the crank it up camera down here through the tri-oval, but really not all that effective because guys are running so far down the tri-oval down there on the apron that you can't really pick them up on the outside line. So going to be fascinating here. But yeah, everybody's saying there, everybody in the chat, we're starting to see some love for Cody Welch. And yeah, he was off last week in Indianapolis. So to see the return tonight going so well for him, you got to wonder if he just put 2 weeks in to a track that he thought he could be pretty good at. And again, trying to end that winless streak, I think is somewhere in the ballpark of 32, 33 races now. It's been a while since Rockingham a couple seasons back in the Xfinity Series in Season 8. So to think in a series where Cody Welch won 4 races in Season number 8 of the series, that yeah, that would just be it. He'd go winless in Season 9, and now for quite a few races here in Season 10. But again, could tonight be the night? But if he's going to do it, he's got to fend off this man, the number 10 of Nickerson. And before we can get too far into that, we go to caution. Your first caution of the night here at Kansas comes out, and we're seeing a couple guys have gone around further back in the field. Hunter Henry, notably. Joshua McQuiggan, possibly even more notably. He was really quick in qualifying. Now finds himself looking the wrong way. Same with Ismail Padilla, driver of the number 66, and Bill Harkins there in the number 5 car. Going forward is also going to be in trouble here. So let's go back to your Apex Sim Racing replay for the very first time tonight and see what brought out the first caution of the night and how that contact between Harkins, Padilla, and Henry came to be. Okay, so this is through turn number 2 or 3, I believe. That was turn number 2, so that initial contact between Hunter Henry and Joshua McQuiggan is what kicks it all off. Now, I'm just curious more so than anything how McQuiggan ends up in this situation, because Joshua McQuiggan qualified 6th. He was down towards the bottom of the field when this happened, but yeah, just that contact a little bit with Hunter Henry. And just that tap in the back quarter panel. I don't know what it was that had the 29 car that far down, but I got to think whatever that was that put him back behind the 8 ball there had to have played some part in him getting in this situation where maybe he was off the pace or wasn't quite used to this section of the racing order yet. So again, on board here with McQuiggan, just drives it in the corner. I think the 9 car maybe checks up a little bit more than he was expecting. Certainly didn't look intentional, just a case of a little bit of a miscommunication between two guys trying to get settled in here at the very start of a race. A notable guy involved in that wreck is Jason Greenwell there, driver of the number 83 car. He's had a really great start to the season so far points-wise, and currently in the top 11 in points at the moment. He's a provisional playoff driver, so unfortunate to see him starting off tonight on kind of a down note. Gonna have to use a quick repair there, you gotta think, seeing the massive damage there on the front nose of that car. A couple drivers just leaving pit road now, Steve Ulrich being one of them, Gary Wright coming out alongside him in the 6 car, Hayden Paul, Jason Greenwell, as I just mentioned, he's got that quick repair, so the 83 car back in working condition. Robert Mathis as well, Hunter Henry, Joshua McQuiggan, Brett Grunwald, Ismail Padilla, and Bill Harkins is back there on pit road as well, so is John Graham, so a couple guys just have yet to leave pit road. But Brett Grunwald, notably, I think the damage to his car may be fixed. I was looking at that front splitter, you can see some weird imperfections there, but not sure if that's just the results of the car or the general design of the body kit, not particularly sure. But well, I am excited to get this started, seeing the pace that guys like Cody Welch and some old favorites like Brandon Jackson, just seeing guys that we're used to in previous seasons just going at it and scrapping, like the Nickersons, Hart Juniors, Welches of the world, seeing them all formed up there at the front, really exciting, and at a racetrack where I think they can really let their abilities shine. The ability to run that high side on the wall is not nearly as easy as you may think it is on paper. So we will see if those guys can continue to keep that pace up there up top. But Cody Welch elects for the high line. I think it's the best play possible. I think that's going to be the ideal strategy tonight, is go up to the high side, carry more speed through the corner that first time. I think you can pretty consistently rely on not getting slide jobbed by the guy underneath, that being they send it in really far on the inside the line, wash up in front of you. You just can't really do that because you don't get that jump off the restart that the leader will. So I think it's a good plan for Cody, and I think tonight, at least early on, tonight's got to be in his favor, got to be in his pocket, at least to kick things off. So again, we'll keep an eye all throughout the night on a number of various drivers, but again, some of those guys up front definitely going to be big names we need to watch out for, not just because they are going through different storylines of their own, whether it be Nick going for 3 wins, Cody going for his first in a while, but generally speaking, these are guys that could be competing for a title this year, so we got to start watching out for those potential battles early. But there we go, the pace car takes the left-hander off onto pit road. Let's get ready to go green here for the first restart of tonight's race, and There's No Place Like Home 125 at Kansas. A big checkup for Nick Nickerson here right off the start, but we do go green, the 2 GFR Racing teammates side by side here, and we go 3 wide between a couple drivers for a moment, and down to turn number 1, Yancey splitting the difference between the 36 and the 99. Up front a little ways, Nick Nickerson's going to drop out. The 36 car is going to get a run, the 99's going to get a run. A bunch of guys swapping spots there a little bit out of turn number 2, and there is Ricky Hart Jr. going to form up behind Cody Welch. Going to get a good run into the corner as well. He's getting real close to the back bumper of the number 85. Might go for the pass here all over that back bumper. Don't forget that battle they had at Texas last season. We talk about it a lot, but don't forget Ricky Hart Jr. off of turn number 4, ending what could have been a much earlier end of the streak there for Cody Welch as he was turned in the final corner of the final lap by Ricky Hart Jr. and went on to finish outside the top 20, whereas Hart won the race. So if you're going to bum somebody, bump him for the win, but you got to wonder if Cody Welch has that in the back of his mind when he sees that, well, not the 64 car like he used to run, but sees the number 1 of Ricky Hart Jr. that close behind him. Some big blocks there, but not this time. Cody's just going to move aside, let Ricky Hart Jr. take the line. I think probably the best course of action here early on in tonight's event, but we are 2 wide, double file for 3 rows here in the top 6. Really good battling so far here early at Kansas, and a much better run there for Cody Welch. Does get the spot back. The 1 car forced to slot back in the line, so Cody is doing everything he needs to do defensively, not overreacting, not throwing the car in front of somebody in the tri-oval, risking a wreck, risking getting turned, just run the more favorable line, take the runs when you can get them. And if a guy like that, like you see with the number 1 car right now, is peeking beneath you, taking aggressive lunges at you, just let him do it. Sometimes that's the best thing possible, and if they make a mistake, great, free spot, and if not, it's a long race. We have about 110, maybe 15 more laps to go, so it's certainly not enough of a hurry that you can't make it back up. But here is Brett Guzik now, trying to get around the outside of Brandon Jackson, that lime green number 04 car with the 11 of Benny Hogan, who was quick in practice, forming up behind him. Once again, Brandon Jackson, the only guy on that low side. Interesting to see the 99 car keep going back to that well here, despite how quick we've seen that top line to be. Again, Ricky Hart Jr. going to peek underneath. We're going to go side by side for the lead again. The 1 and the 85, but again, that low line, just you got to check up quite a bit more than the high side. And Cody Welch is going to clear him once again back at turn number 2. Cody Welch continuing to lead here at Kansas as we come to lap number 20. So we're getting there through tonight's race. Should be about a single hour race if we go cautionless, which of course we do have one. And as my non-present for tonight commentator Evan Wamedia, obviously a longtime partner of the series, would say, cautions do breed cautions. So we may see one momentarily here, knock on wood, but it's going to be side by side for Nickerson and Jackson here for 4th. It just feels like a rotating carousel of guys here battling in the top 10, just spots going up and down, left and right. And Kevin Foster here we got to talk about. Of course, tonight's race sponsor again, and he is making moves there. He's up 7 spots to 7th, qualified 14th. Now he sits in behind this battle for really every spot here in the top 5. He is right there on the doorstep, but up a little bit further, Brandon Jackson, he's making that low line work once again. Maybe that tire wear I was worried about there for him at the beginning of this stint, not quite as bad as we originally thought, because he is making the pace work there on the bottom. Clears the 1 car of Hart, and maybe his strategy will be the one to beat Cody Welch, a guy who's been borderline untouchable since he took the lead there on about lap number 4. Down to the bottom here goes Jackson. We're going to ride on board with the 85 car of Cody Welch as he comes off the corner. You see on the left-hand side there, Brandon Jackson getting pretty darn close. So looking off the back bumper of that car, you see Ricky Hart, but there's a reason you don't see Brandon, and it's because he's that close. Brandon might actually clear him here. Slide job off of 4. Brandon Jackson takes the race lead here at Kansas, the pole award winner, back to the pole here, and he is now going to defend like a madman. You got to think, because I think those tires with those consistent low lines, if tire wear is as bad in 20 laps as Dawson Guzik suggested before the race, he is really going to start losing pace here. He's going to need to rely on those defensive abilities. I think Cody here right now is going to, if he wants it, have a shot into turn number 3. Just, again, that outside the line, you just carry so much more momentum off the corner. And it didn't work that time, but he's going to try it again here. Just, again, he's conserving more tires. He's not using the rubber up quite as hard as he's taking that more gradual outside line to the corner. So keep an eye on Cody to be a little bit quicker later in the run. But right now, it is Brandon Jackson up front, starting to break away by about 4/10. Looking back a little bit in the field, trying to keep an eye on a couple battles a little bit more mid-pack. Here is Jonas Lazader, driver of the number 71, trying to track down Hunter Henry, who currently sits in the 13th spot. And with that, we have a caution, I should mention, as the caution does come out. So, gonna go to your Apex Sim Racing replays, see what brings out the second caution of the night. And I think in some part, it's got to be down to my jinxing of cautions breed cautions there just a minute ago. But here's Alec Daff in the 48 car. Up front a little ways ahead, the 4 and the 00 come together, Knock and Ellis. And just a pure bystander there in the path of the 48 car. The number 00 gets hit by the 4 and just nowhere for the 48 of Alec Daffin to go. Not the way he wanted to start his race tonight. He already qualified fairly decently there in 10th position for him, but he's been darn quick all season, looking for that second win after his first at Auto Club, and yeah, just really nowhere for the 48 car to go. We'll go to his onboard perspective there just so you can see how much reaction time he really had to work with. But yeah, off of turn number 2, you just see nothing for him in the 00. Just makes contact, doesn't lock the brakes up, but just rolls right in front of him. So Alec Daffin, nothing he can do. Did get back to pit road, it would seem. So as we go live, he is just entering the pits as we speak. And actually, speaking of, only 3 drivers did not enter pit road this last time by. What a battle off pit road. Going to be the 99, then the 285 car. Cody Welch going to lose a spot there to Nick Nickerson. Then it's Ricky Hart Jr., Kevin Foster, Brett Guzik, Christopher Hamilton, Hunter Henry, Benjamin Lacy. And that is going to be your first 10 off pit road as we go to Michael Ramos, your final driver there off pit road. But it's Curtis Yancey, David Lakey, and Hayden Paul there in the 54 car all staying out. And these guys have made up 10 spots, 14 spots, 33 spots respectively. So going to go to the alternative strategy. Early on, they're going to play the gamble, and they're going to play the waiting game and see if that alternative call to go on. I guess the trade-off would be, track position, and then hope for a caution that comes at a time where you haven't lost too many spots to the new tire runners yet, and you can kind of make a couple spots up in the field just naturally through defending rather than going on offense. Some guys prefer that, some guys don't. I don't think Curtis Yancey would be a guy who prefers offense, or defense over offense, I should say, because he's been one of the most offensive racecraft successful guys in the entire field. So wouldn't be surprised if he continues to get quicker as this race goes on, and once he gets back to new tires and once he's back on a more competitive set of rubber. But the lights on the pace car are off, so we're ready to go green here in just a lap's time here at Auto Club Speedway. I got Alec Daffin's win from earlier this season now stuck in my head. We are here at Kansas, and there's no place like home. 125 here, again sponsored by series driver Kevin Foster there. Driver the number 8, and he's currently sitting in 8th, alongside a couple other GFR racing teammates. We see Nick Nickerson up there in the 5th spot, and let's go to Nick a little bit closer. There's the number 2 car. And we see behind him the number 1 car sitting in the 7th spot of Ricky Hart Jr., and on the outside of Ricky, it's Kevin Foster. So those GFR guys teaming up, and there's the final GFR Racing member, Mr. Christopher Hamilton there in 9th. So that's kind of a fun shot. You see all the 4 GFR Racing teammates huddled together behind Cody Welch, who sits up on the high side. Technically Nick ahead of Cody in the race order, but the way that outside line has gone so far, you got to think that's effectively the spot ahead of the guy on the inside. Well, here we go. Pace car taking the left-hander onto pit road. We are ready to get going. It's going to be Yancey, going to be Lakey, your 2 leaders to lead us off to green. Green flag here for the second restart of the night at Kansas. And what a start there for Curtis Yancey. Got a great jump considerably over David Lakey there on the inside of the line. And already Cody Welch and a couple other guys moving up there. Kevin Foster as well going with him. Just everybody in the high side got going. Guys on the inside did not. And caution comes out almost immediately here. Third of the night, Alan Castle most notably involved for Rogue Energy, driver of the number 33 car. He's looking the wrong way. Let's find out the reason why on the Apex Sim Racing replay. So here's the perspective from Alan Castle here, a little bit further back. You see somebody, that was Steve Ulrich there, I think, in the number 25 car, bouncing off the outside wall on the entry into turn number 1. He bounced off the wall a little bit, got into Castle, and that was all it took. Gonna go to a replay here once again just to get a better perspective there. But yeah, just kind of 2 guys trying to get as far to the outside as they could on the entry into turn 1, just to try to maximize their momentum off the apex of the corner. And unfortunately, neither guy was able to, because they got together and put each other around. And that is not the way that Alan Castle would have liked to start his night tonight here at Kansas. And going live, 33 car getting back up to speed, but has yet to come down pit road to make repairs to his damage he just sustained. Well, as always here on the Bandit Racing League coverage here on the Full Send Racing Network, we got a couple things to shout out here as always. And well, the first is something we talk about quite a bit here on the broadcast, but it's for a very good reason. If you were here for the Bandit Racing League coverage from the Full Send Racing Network, you were going to be very interested in the Bandit Racing League website. if you were a Bandit Racing League fan and you're tuning in each and every week, you're keeping up with your favorite driver, or even if you're just here for the series itself, if you don't know any drivers in person, well, if you want info about the series, where we're going next, where to find the broadcast links, the schedule for the season, the point standings, everything related to Bandit Racing League website, the website is where you find it. So go check it out. As you can see here, just a little rundown, maybe some driver information for each and every driver in the series, or at least pretty much all of them. You get the countdown to the next race of the season here on the Full Send Racing Network. Links as well, if you prefer to do it through that. And, well, the other thing it links you to is something very near and dear to my heart, and I still think it is so cool on a week-by-week basis that the Bandit Racing League has this, but we have our own merch. And we talk about it fairly decently. Geezer Authentics, the brand that sponsors the Geezer Authentics Xfinity Series, is your go-to place. It's your venue, it's your location, it is your source for all of your merch for the Bandit Racing League, and that's where you go check it out. So Geezer Authentics, run by our very own Bill Harkins, and we got some new stuff here in the merch side of our series. Eddie Haggy collection just dropped, so that's some shirts and some sweaters for the driver, the number 97, a guy that's close to the Full Send Racing Network here on the broadcast because he has commentated with us in the past a number of times. So cool to see that he's getting some stuff to shout out. A former Pole Award winner a couple times. The 97 often finds good pace there in qualifying. So go support Eddie Haggy, I should say, in the number 97. Go check out his new stuff, but also there's drinkware. There's a bunch of new merch for the Bandit Racing League team, made up of, I believe, 5 drivers, some of the youngest and brightest talents in this series, that being Young Guns Racing. They just released a variety of new merch, so if you're a fan of guys such as Mark Allen Bivens, Nolan Gross, Keegan Clark, Jackson Knock, etc., that is where you go for it. So go check them out, some new merch, and we try not to always show it all off for you guys, so you guys get to go check it out and see what's there, but really anything you can possibly imagine, anything you would want a Bandit logo on, I promise there's a Bandit logo on. So go find it there, go check it out, and as always, the place to go do that is in the links below in the YouTube description. So the links to the website and in turn, Geezer Authentics. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick moment here, well under caution. Might as well go to a driver's perspective, get a driver up here in the broadcast booth, and well, what would be a good guy to interview up here in the top 2? Maybe we'll go to Brandon Jackson here, see if he's available. He's currently sitting on the outside of the front row, the first guy on new tires. Hey, Brandon, Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey.
How's it going, Brandon? Sorry, it's a little bit early in the race, but it's a solo booth tonight. We figured we'd get some driver's perspectives here, and what better perspective to get than the guy who's tonight's Pole Award winner here tonight at Kansas. Good start for you, Brandon. We're 1 lap away, but you're off to a good start here in the race as well. First guy on new tires. Are you liking this Kansas track, and what was the story there in qualifying?
Yeah, I like this place. We're still on the set we started the race with, so we got to keep those tires fresh in the pits for later in the race. But yeah, I mean, it's a great track. You just got to learn how to work the lines, what lines to run, when to run them, and just how hard you got to go. Man, all those guys were running the high side, and I was just chilling on the bottom, and I started passing them one by one. So who knows? The guys behind me that did take tires, oh well, they're about to blow all of our doors off. So I don't know how this is about to go, but really quickly, I just want to say before we go green, I hate what happened in Texas. Man, God, if I was in law enforcement, man, I would have tried to put a stop to that, because that is horrific. But we're about to go green, and I'm about to win this race, every single last one of them that unfortunately lost their lives in this tragic accident. Gotta go!
See you, Brandon. Thank you very much for your time, as always.
Bye!
There you go, Brandon Jackson. Always a favorite, and that is exactly why. Such a fun guy. But yes, absolutely. As always, our thoughts here on the Full Send Racing Network, and as far as the Bandit Racing League in general, our thoughts are with the victims of the Texas school shooting last week. But here we go. Curtis Yancey, Brandon Jackson. This is a battle we're not too unfamiliar with seeing here historically in the series, but hopefully going to keep it clean here, which maybe a couple times in the past it has not been. But the 99 and the 51, both off to good starts, but Yancey will hold the lead there off of turn number 2, still your race leader. But Cody Welch, maybe one of those guys that Brandon was alluding to with that new set of tires, because the 85 car running pretty quick here off the line here to start off this current stint. Further back, the GFR guys will starting to get into a line. Foster, then Nickerson, then Hart, then Hamilton are your drivers down to 7th, and Brett Guzik there are trying to get in the line. So a number of guys starting to pull out a line here as we come across to the tri-oval. You should start to get an idea of just how crazy this racetrack's racing is going to be if guys can really get in a line, really get those tires figured out. Down to the bottom goes Robert Mathis there for 10th at the moment. Really good start to the stint here for Well, a guy who's up 21 spots from the start of the race, Robert Mathis, qualified 31st. He's up there in 10th, so quite a considerable bit of progress for him, and I know he did pit as well, so not running off strategy or anything. Sitting there in 11th is Jonathan Baker there, qualified up in 2nd, now down to the outside of what would be the 6th row there, so Brandon Jackson is the guy to watch here, but Jonathan Baker, who was alongside him at the start of the race, just not quite having that same success early, but could be on an alternative strategy, could just have more tires, so don't count the 36 car out whatsoever. But we are side by side down the backstretch for the lead here at Kansas once again. It feels like that lead has been up for grabs about 50 times so far in about 34 laps, so good start there for these two gentlemen on this current stint. But Brandon Jackson back past the 51 of Yancey, and now we'll attempt to chug away and again start to break out that lead that, not just tonight, but we've seen Brandon break out a number of leads at these intermediate tracks in the past. He's just a guy that, if he's got a track he likes, he just gets in a rhythm, and very few guys in the series are better. Tonight could be one of those nights. But again, Cody Welch there in the ballpark, but Kevin Foster, what a dive, what a run he got off of turn number 2, the 8 car, tonight's race sponsor. Been kind of a quiet season so far for Kevin Foster there in the number 8 car. Could tonight be that breakout performance for him that really reminds us just how quick that number 8 car is, and why he's a 2-time champion, the only 2-time champion in Bandit Racing League history, and why he is one of the best in the series week after week. But again, those GFR Racing guys starting to get in a bit of a line there, starting to pack up. But Jonathan Baker, I just mentioned, don't forget about the 36 car. He's up a couple more spots. He was in 12th a moment ago. Now he's in 6th. Now he's in 5th as he goes down the inside of Ricky Hart. Could he split the middle? Could we go 4 wide there? We thought about it. Only going to go 3, but Baker down the inside might have the most favorable run of anybody. He's going to beat Welch there on the outside. Can he beat Kevin Foster on the inside here in turn number 1? Is going to come close. He's carrying a lot of speed on that outside line. I think it is going to be a case of Jonathan Baker being on new tires. Like, these are some of the best guys in the series, some absolute veterans, and he's blowing by them like they're standing still. So I'm going to say a new tire is going to play some part in that, but might not be a bad strategy just to get out of the way of potential wrecks and make for some really great racing down the inside in the 36 car. Goes from 12th to 2nd in about 3 laps time. Benny Hogan now getting involved too. He's down the inside of Ricky Hart Jr. through the tri-oval. So a number of guys trying to get their licks in here, trying to get their time in the spotlight, and Benny Hogan here for the first week in the Bandit Racing League this season is taking over the 11 car from Bill Harkins, who now takes over Benny Hogan's old 5 car. So that number 11 car, he's putting it to good use early in its debut race with Hogan behind the wheel, and now he's going by Curtis Yancey. Again, I think a new tire situation for him, but I also said the same thing of Jonathan Baker, and I think Hogan's running comparable lap times to the 36 car, so could see both of those guys being a factor later in tonight's race. But now Christopher Hamilton down the inside of his GFR Racing teammate Garrett Hall there in the 26 car. Kind of a quiet season for him as well so far this season, but now he's battling with some of the very best out here to do it. Christopher Hamilton to the inside, Ricky Hart Jr. to the outside. The 26 car making his way through the field. That really cool, really coolly colored yellow, black, and red. Some very bold livery designs on that number 26 car. Now he's down the inside once again. Curtis Yancey. I think this is a green flag pit stop for the driver, the number 51. Remember, he hasn't pitted to this point in the race so far. Can't even click him because he's jumping down the order too fast. There we go. The 51 car coming down pit road here on lap 40. So had 3 cautions, made it all the way to lap 40. That's got to say something about the sort of stints we're going to see here under fuel and tires tonight, with tires running out much quicker than fuel here tonight at Kansas. So going to be something to think about. Some internet connectivity issues there for a moment for Jonathan Baker. Hopefully those were just temporary. But Baker is to the point there on a fresh set of rubber, and so is Benny Hogan. He's going with him. You got to wonder if this is a 2 versus 4 tire scenario for these front 2 guys, or if Hogan just genuinely does have comparable pace to Baker, because he is challenging the back bumper of that number 36 car on the way into 1. What a swing to the inside there for Benny Hogan. Just absolutely sent it underneath. It's not going to work this time. Baker is going to remain the race leader. So getting to the 1/3 of the way through the race portion here in tonight's race at Kansas. What a start, but great question there in the chat from Corey Mitchell. Where did Kevin come from? He is picking up pace as the race goes along, and again, tonight's sponsored event, you got to think he was probably putting in some good practice laps this week, and they are paying off so far. Remember, he is up 9 spots from 14th here, now to 5th. I talked about a little bit earlier, Garrett Hall there running on fresh tires here on this current stint. He's up 20 spots there, qualified 24th, now he's up to 4th. Alternative strategy or not, even if you don't have tires at the end, if you can get good track position early and use that to your advantage later, it's not a bad strategy whatsoever. But these fresh tire guys continue to find their way through, one of whom is Alec Daffin. Remember, he needed to use a quicker pair earlier after being the, well, not the cause directly, but being involved in that first wreck of the night. And the 48 car there is making competitive lap times, just past Connor Gibson there in the 31 car, who's also up 11 spots in his own right, but now trying to track down Kevin Foster, going to go on board here with the number 48 car, I should say. Well, the pass on Kevin Foster now completed there for the 48 of Alec Daffin, who is now in the top 5 and will continue his charge through the field as he watches two very competitive battles, one of which is going to go side by side here into turn number 3. Deep on the brakes is Benny Hogan. He just sends it into turn number 3. Worked for a moment there. Looks like he might clear the 36, but I don't think he will. And there he goes. Jonathan Baker going to shoot around the outside here and take off into turn number 1. Now 80 laps to go here at Kansas, so plenty of laps left, but certainly a race that if we get some green flag laps, I think is going to fly by a lot quicker than some may expect. So keep an eye on these guys to get a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more, what's the word? A little bit more rambunctious, let's say, as the race goes along. Is the possibility that we won't get a ton of cautions and positions are going to matter more than any week we've seen recently in the series. Well, if that's the case, we're going to start seeing guys get a little bit more aggressive and could potentially lead to more cautions. Here goes Alec Daffin. I think he gave a tap to Garrett Hall on the entry into the tri-oval. Whatever he did, the 48 car is going to pass the 26. Now he's going to try on the outside line again, going to try to carry that momentum through turns number 1 and 2 and try to get by Brandon Jackson here down the backstretch. He's got good speed, got good momentum. There he goes. No opposition really being put up by Brandon Jackson. Just going to let the 48 car by, and probably the best thing for Brandon to do, because he's, again, as he said in the interview there a moment ago, he's on old tires. This doesn't particularly mean a ton for him. And I'm extremely impressed that he's now staying ahead of Garrett Hall and keeping up relatively with Alec Daffin. Both guys on fresh tires, on old tires. Like, Brandon is an absolutely absurd driver here at some tracks, and I'm getting the sense that if we don't have a very caution-filled race, this could be one where, with strategies once they cycle out, Brandon Jackson here might be the guy to beat tonight. Speaking of which, down in the YouTube chat there, as always, like to get you guys involved. So throw it down in the chat for us. Who is your pick for the win? I mean, obviously we try to keep it, objective. Take the race winner, or take your personal favorite driver out of the race winner conversation, unless you think he could genuinely win. But come on, let's give if you're placing bets, if you're placing money in Vegas, who would your pick for tonight's race win here be at Kansas? Not only based on what you've seen, but based on what you know of the drivers, based on what you've seen this season, and maybe you're thinking tonight's the sort of night for a crazy finish, something a little bit different, or maybe you think this could be a pretty typical sort of night where a guy like Nick Nickerson wins his 3rd in a row and 2nd in a row at Kansas. So let's see it. Throw it down there in the broadcast chat, and we'll mention some suggestions and try to give some credit to some guys that maybe we haven't thought of if we see some kind of out there suggestions. Back a little ways further, trying to find some battles here throughout the later half of the top 10. Joshua McQuiggan making pace, keeping up, and kind of sitting as the ice cream and the sandwich between the two GFR racing cars, the number 2 and the number 15 of Nickerson and Hamilton, respectively. So not a bad race start so far for Joshua McQuiggan. Again, I talked about earlier, has really good pace on pretty much every track of the calendar, but generally speaking, just not a guy I typically think of when it comes to premier drivers here at the intermediate racetracks. But the Port Colborne, Ontario native here, and the driver of the number 29 car, so he's from my neck of the woods. Joshua McQuiggan there is continuing to make good laps, and he's staying about even keeled there with Nickerson. He's starting to pull away from Hamilton. That's really what we're starting to see at this point in the stint, is just guys running even with each other, and you're going to need to make a mistake, or you're going to really need to make an aggressive move here to get by a guy. Kevin Foster's doing just that. He tried the slide job there on the inside to get back past the number 26 car. Isn't going to work, so the 8 car going to have to stay on the inside line, get a try it again here into turns number 1 and 2. But for the time being, Kevin just, again, making that forward progress, and at this point in the race, that's really all you need to expect from the number 8 car if you want him to be in contention for the race win later. Back here in the onboard from Joshua McQuiggan's perspective, you see Garrett Hall there. Sorry, that's Nick Nickerson, and that's Curtis Yancey. Now, interesting to see Curtis not on the lead lap. I'm wondering what what circumstance happened earlier to take Curtis off the lead lap. I think I saw he was passively involved in a wreck earlier, passively involved in an incident, but the 51 car, maybe as a result of when he pitted before that caution, remember he pitted under green, he is now a lap down legitimately on track. So as he fights his way back through on new tires, the question becomes, can he do it fast enough to get back in conversation for not just the race win, like he seemed so potentially able to do so earlier on in the race, but just to get back on the lead lap is going to be the challenge right now for Curtis Yancey. This battle for second between Alec Daffin and Benny Hogan is going to be one to watch. But for just a moment here, we're going to go to a side-by-side commercial break. We'll be back in just a moment here on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the Bandit Racing League. Just a single commentator booth. We got to take relatively infrequent breaks. But for now, we're going to go side-by-side, so we'll stay tuned here at Kansas for the There's No Place Like Home 125 at Kansas in the 7th round of the 10th season of the Bandit Racing League. We'll be back in just a moment. Well, back here live on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the Bandit Racing League. We've been side by side with this really exceptional battle here these last couple laps between Christopher Hamilton and Nick Nickerson and Joshua McQuiggan. With Christopher Hamilton kind of in the background, kind of a spectator figure here, just waiting for kind of this battle to go any certain way, and then maybe there's a chance the 15 car can jump in and get involved and try to make his way into the top 5. Further up in the field, however, it's Alec Daffin who's going to become your new race leader. Driver the number 48 car is setting sail there up front. A second and a half clear of Brendan Jackson, or at least he would be if we didn't just see the 4th caution of the night come out. Hayden Paul The 54 car going to be turned around the wrong way as we just about hit the halfway point tonight's event. I believe that is turn number 3 and 4. So let's go to your Apex Sim Racing replay. Remember to use code BANDIT at apexsimracing.com to get yourself some new Apex Sim Racing gear for button boxes, steering wheels, anything you could need for sim racing of your own to get started on iRacing, like the drivers in the Bandit Racing League. That is where you go. Remember to use code BANDIT for 5% off your purchase. But there's the replay, and there's the 71 car of Jonas Lazada running splat into the back of the number 54 car of Hayden Paul. Again, we got to watch it one more time, like to always get a bit better perspective so we know exactly what we're looking at here. But that was actually the 54 car initially just coming in with a decent bit too much speed there, hitting the outside wall there on entry into turn number 1. He made contact, slowed up in front of Lazada, and when one guy after another is going to send it there on the high line, send it to the very top of the racetrack. If you hit the wall and check up, the guy behind you is going exactly where you did. So it's going to create some pretty big giant pileups tonight. We almost saw a pileup there on pit road. Benny Hogan and Kevin Foster there, both coming on a little bit hot and almost took each other out there as they braked into pit road. But here we go. It's going to be the race off of pit road, and as we're at the halfway point, really that one caution we've seen thus far that in which everybody pitted totally changed the complexion of this race. Guys moving up and down the race order. So we'll see if this one does a similar thing where the way this factors off is guys probably take 4 tires this time. We'll see how that affects the next stint. But Brandon Jackson has the best pit box of anybody. Can he beat Alec Daffin off pit road? Gonna be close. Jonathan Baker actually almost beats the 48 car of Alec Daffin on pit road, but does not. Although I believe he may be a lap down. He is a lap down, so Jonathan Baker not going to be 4th position. Brandon Jackson will leave pit road in the 2nd spot. Then it's Benny Hogan, then it's Kevin Foster, Nick Nickerson, Joshua McQuiggan, Benjamin Lacy, Christopher Hamilton, Brett Guzik, and Garrett Hall going to be your top 10 here in the battle off pit road. Everybody in the field on the lead lap coming down pit road that last time by. There in the background is Curtis Yancey, and he should have just got his lap back, and I believe he will. So the 51 car is going to need to pit here this next time by, but he was the first car ahead of that leading pack there when the pace car picked up the leaders. So he is going to be on the lead lap, and he will have an opportunity to come down pit road if he so chooses. He's going to factor back to the end of this front pack, so it's going to be a trade-off. Could potentially put himself in a situation where he could get wrecked kind of mid-pack, but could... it's interesting. He's got some strategy options. He is going to pit this time, it would seem. So the 51 car going to come down pit road, take a fresh set of tires, you got to think, and certainly more fuel to get ready to go to the end. It's going to be close. I think it should be one more stop to the end of the race from this point on. About 33 laps is what we've kind of talked about tonight as the approximate fuel cycle. So if that's the case, that'll take us to about lap number 95, and that'll give us plenty of time to kind of coast to the end and still have, I think, enough fuel that nobody's conserving there by the end of the race, and we can have a nice proper run, a nice proper battle for the win there. Just looking there in the YouTube chat as people are talking around, giving their opinions on who they think could go for the win tonight. A lot of support there for the 2 second-place motorsports drivers, those, of course, being Benjamin Lacy, who currently sits in the 7th spot, fitting as he is the driver of the number 7 car. Let's see if we can find his perspective. Yeah, Benjamin Lacy tonight. Again, we've talked about it plenty this season, but this has really been a showcase year for Benjamin Lacy, a guy who in the past has ended up in the Final Four of the championship and the chase for the championship. He could have very well won it last season, depending on how things had gone in the trucks, but kind of a guy that I think flies under the radar despite his success, or at least he did until this year. But the 7 car said, okay, I got to make a name for myself, and he's done so. He's had poles this season. He's had consistent races in which he's just dominated up front, en route to 2 wins so far this season, and he's in contention tonight for a 3rd. Would tie Nick Nickerson for the most in the series with 3 if he did so. But he has been incredible this year. I think Lacy, even more than his teammate Cody Welch, is a pretty sure bet week to week as far as success or potential for a win, even though Cody, I think everybody in this series, everybody watching at home would agree that Cody, in terms of flat-out natural talent on his day, could be one of the top 3, top 5 best in the series. And tonight we've seen that pace. It was just a little bit of contact earlier, a little bit of struggle on the pit cycle in which he dropped it back a couple spots. Those difficulties are, I think, what's going to make it tough for Cody. But if he can minimize those mistakes and he can work his way back through the field now, could very well get himself back in contention to get that first win since Rockingham in season number 8. So those are the 2 second-place motorsports drivers to watch out for, and I think either guy could have a very good shot at the win. But Alec Daffin, Brandon Jackson going to be your front row here on the restart. It's going to be, I believe, Daffin on older tires and Brandon Jackson on newer tires. Actually, Jackson, I believe, won the battle off pit road and opted for the high side. So here we go. Brandon Jackson going to lead us to green here alongside the number 48 of Alec Daffin, back on the same strategy as the leaders. But we're waiting. We're waiting. And we are green. Actually, Alec Daffin is going to be your race leader here down to the restart and opted for the inside line. It's going to pay off for him because he got a great jump there off the start. Is going to be able to go up to the top side and get the favorable apex down to turn number 1. Side by side, we go for third there, a couple cars back. Benny Hogan sliding down the inside there on Kevin Foster does get clear, and so does Nick Nickerson. He's going to go with him. The 2-car getting back past his teammate. The GFR Racing stable tonight swapping the lead role in that team over and over and over again. Nickerson up behind Jackson. Contact off the outside wall for Benny Hogan. You saw there off of the turn number 4 static cam, hitting the outside retaining wall and bouncing back onto the racing surface. Going to have a little bit of damage, but it's going to keep rolling for the time being, though he's already dropped back to the end of the top 10. Might be out of it as we come off of turn number 3, because here comes Cody Welch, or into turn number 3, I should say. Down to the inside there goes Christopher Hamilton. He's peeking on Joshua McQuiggan, but no dice as of yet. Going to slot back in there and wait for just a moment. Back up to the front, it is Daffin, then Jackson, then Nickerson. Then it's Foster battling side by side with Lacy for 4th. Just what a race tonight, all throughout the lead battles here. But a couple of guys in particular have shown a lot of pace and a lot of racecraft. And Kevin Foster's a guy we've seen all night. He's making passes, he's picking guys off. But Benjamin Lacy's up 16 spots from 20th to 4th. And again, I just talked about it. We know the pace he's got this year. So don't be surprised to see either of those two guys battling up with these two, or these three, I should say, for the race win in just a moment. But Alec Daffin's still your leader, but it's going to be Nickerson of the 2-truck car trying to get around the outside, I should say, of Brandon Jackson. As we come through the trial, I think he does get clear. It's going to be close, and he's in the more favorable line through 1 and 2. Going to go to the high side. Jackson again back down to that inside the line that he was more comfortable with at the start of tonight's race. Kevin Foster going to shoot up to the high side, going to go up and block Joshua McQuiggan. Christopher Hamilton a few car lengths back. He's kind of in the conversation. Brett Guzik is a guy who's kind of had a quiet night so far. We are 3 wide there between Ramos, Hart, and up on the high side, Hogan, who we know has a little bit of damage. This is effectively the battle for 10th. So final spot in the top 10. They are fighting for it here. Still 3 wide across the tri-oval. It's going to be Ramos on the inside. Can he get enough room through the corner to make the move work? Whoa! What just happened to Ricky Hart? Ricky Hart sliding up in front of the field, almost causing a pileup, but keeps it clean. What happened to Ricky Hart Jr.? He looked so comfortable there through the corner on the entry. He was just getting ready to try to give some space to Ramos, and suddenly finding himself on the apron there, trying not to go around. So fascinating stuff. Keeps it clean though. And now right behind it's going to be Hilbrands and Gibson there battling. Now 3 wide there. The 18 car, I believe, is Brett Grunwald. So Grunwald up top just barely clears the 31. Then it's Hilbrands, who's had kind of a quiet night so far, but qualified all the way up in 9th. It's just since then dropped back to 17th and now trying to work his way back through. So a couple guys going side by side here, kind of mid-pack, but back up front, we are side by side for the race lead, and it's Lacy and Nickerson. Where did this come from? Daffin and Jackson going to fall back in favor of this battle between, I'd say inarguably the 2 most successful drivers so far this season. The 2 guys with 5 combined race wins out of only 6 so far this season. So, sorry, 7 I should say. This is race 8. I've had the race wrong the entire night. Race 8 tonight here at Kansas. But yeah, these 2 guys combining for 5 wins in the first 7 races. The 2 exceptions being Alec Daffin and Mark Allen Bivens. But the better of these 2 guys, at least on this particular lap, looks to be Nick Nickerson as he gets the inside line through 3 and 4. He's just going to try to sail off here for a couple laps. Battle continuing here off of turn number 2 in the rundown of turn number 3. 2 car back down to the bottom side, maybe the more defensive line, but I guess Nick is just more comfortable there running that low groove, letting the more aggressive apex bank and kind of shoot him around the corner there, which seemingly working on this lap as we start lap number 73. So getting towards 50 to go, that would be about 25 minutes real world time. So not a ton of actual time left for these 2 drivers as they seek to claim either their 4th or 3rd win of the season respectively. Here comes Lacy. Speaking of that 3rd win of the season, 7 car going to peek down to the inside the line. Can he get enough of a run to slide up in front? I don't think he can. Might be able to run side by side off the exit of 4 back into the tri-oval. Going to be close. I think the 2 will clear him if he wants to. Can clear down, but hasn't yet, and I don't think he will. So, no, he won't. Nick Nickerson going to remain your race leader here provisionally. So he comes through turns number 1 and 2 here in the runoff. Going to carry some really good speed there. So, the 2 car doing what we're used to seeing. He's a 3-time winner this season for a reason. Former champion last time we were in the Xfinity cars. He knows what he's doing. But Cody Welch here, I do want to talk about, now up into 6th. Right in the back bumper of the guy who was leading on this stint. The guy who presumably has fresh tires as well. Alec Daffin. But Cody Welch there, he's in quite good form here, as he's going to lose a spot very briefly to Christopher Hamilton. Might get it back down to turn number 1. Won't, actually. He is going to slide up back behind the 85 car. But yeah, Joshua McQuiggan and Cody Welch both making good progress here tonight overall. But Cody Welch there, since those early struggles, which we've seen pretty much every race in which Cody's quick at some point, he does have troubles there early on, but hopefully tonight he got those out of the way, and now it is time again to just set sail and try to make some forward progress. As again, those 2 race leaders there of Nickerson and Lacy still within the camera frame. They're not too far ahead, only about a second and a half, so don't be surprised to see the 85 car getting back involved in the race for the lead. Side by side we go into turn number 3, the 8 car and the 2 car, sorry, the 8 car and the 99, I should say. Brandon Jackson, Kevin Foster running side by side through turns number 3 and 4. I think the 99 should get the better of him on the inside the line to go even through the tri-oval, but the 8 car going to have the more favorable momentum back into turn number 1. Here we go, 8 car. Late on the brakes, going to slide in a little bit. Carrying, again, a pretty good helping of speed, but the 99 car's just got his lift and coast nailed to a T there in turns number 1 and 2. That 99 car just looks on rails on the inside of the line, and that's the reason the 99 car is back past Foster, back up into the 3rd spot. So Brandon, after being taken out of the race lead there due to pit stop strategy, is now going to work his way back into the top 3, and we saw earlier, he's got the pace, especially on those longer runs. He knows how to get in a groove, run good laps, and if he can do that, might be able to start tracking down your 2 race leaders, those being Nickerson and Lacy. Gonna keep it locked on this battle as we go to another brief commercial break here on the Bandit Racing League coverage from the Full Send Racing Network. We'll be back in just a moment here. We're going to go side by side. You're going to watch this battle between Christopher Hamilton, Kevin Foster, and Cody Welch. Your battle for 5th provisionally, or sorry, 4th I should say, that could involve the number 3 car, Brandon Jackson, momentarily. Sorry, 3rd place car, number 99. Back in just a moment. Well, back live here on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the Bandit Racing League, and we are in for a fun little treat here between Alec Daffin and Brett Guzik. You saw just a moment ago that Brett Guzik came in with so much speed there in that last corner, right behind Kevin Foster, who was considerably off the pace there for just a moment, that he almost got into him. He had to check up to avoid the outside wall there with how much speed he came in with. So hopefully the last time we'll see some struggles like that for Brett Guzik this race, because that was very narrowly a version of a collision. But he's okay. Kevin Foster's back up to speed, and we continue on green here at Kansas for the There's No Place Like Home 125 here, presented by Kevin Foster tonight in favor of, well, not in favor, I should say, as a kind of a nice little shout out and a nice little mention there to his parents. Of course, Kelly and Bill, parents of Kevin Foster there, a two-time Bandit Racing League Series champion, the only two-time champion of Pensacola, Florida. So shout out to you guys tonight here on behalf of Kevin Foster and the Full Send Racing Network. But yellow flag coming out here for the 5th time in tonight's race, so we are going to have 40 to go here, about 36 to go off the next restart, but not noticing any particular reason for the caution flag. So back to the Apex Sim Racing replay, courtesy of Apex Sim Racing, and remember to use code BANDIT at apexsimracing.com. But the 48 and the 04 car, just showing what they were doing at the time of the yellow, but they weren't involved. Somebody was involved. Who is that in front of them? Gonna try to keep an eye on a car in the background. There was smoke, but I think the car left the track too quickly to kind of identify who it was. So, unfortunately, going to be kind of a mystery here. But whatever it was, it is going to bring out a caution, and it is going to put us under yellow. So that's going to pack the field up. I mean that your current leader, Nick Nickerson, is going to be tucked right up to Brandon Jackson. Actually, this might be, if we get a couple more cautions, this might be the final pit stop of the race here, folks. So keep it locked, keep it tuned in, and this could be huge. Your favorite driver needs to have a good pit stop here. Guys such as Nick Nickerson here, Brandon Jackson, Benjamin Lacy about to pull down his pit box. Here he comes. So the 7 car a little bit further back there on pit road. That favorable starting spot for Jackson should come in handy here. As the pole sitter, he does have the front box on pit road, can just shoot straight out when he gets the run off of the off of his box, rather than having to take that right-hand turn back into the left. So it's a subtle thing, but it does make a difference. And here we go, Jackson up on the left side of the jack. Here we go. Battle off pit road. He's on the gas. Nickerson's going to beat him, but I think that will be about it. A number of guys getting a couple spots. Cody Welch had a pretty favorable run off pit road. He should gain a couple spots. Hunter Henry, where did he come from? Up 5 spots from starting 30th in tonight's race, or sorry, 25 spots from 30th to 5th now as he exits off of pit road, and should be a presumably fresh set of tires. Maybe not 4 if he gained that many spots, but might have at least minimum taken fuel, and that could put him in a pretty favorable spot strategically if we don't get a caution to the end of tonight's race. But yeah, just to recap, it is Nickerson, Jackson, Hunter Henry, Alec Daffin, then Cody Welch, Kevin Foster, and Benjamin Lacy going to be your first couple drivers off of pit road. And again, that could be the final caution for tonight's race, and it could be the final pit stop with only about 39 laps to go. 33 laps to the end on a tank of fuel under green is about the estimate. So a couple cautions, 2 or 3, and just like that, that number becomes a whole lot larger. But yeah, we're going to stay under yellow for a couple more laps. But the Gastonia, North Carolina native, Garrett Hall there in the 26 car, a guy that I don't think we talked nearly enough about in this series, because he's a longtime veteran of the Bandit Racing League, and certainly a guy that on his day can definitely be involved in the top 10 quite a bit. But well, we get a chance to talk about him now because we've talked about him a few times because he's been up and down throughout the field. He's been in the conversation for top 10 under a conventional strategy most of the race. This is going to put him off strategy here, but I don't think it's a bad plan really to go a lap long, try to prioritize the track position. I think if you bet on the possibility that this isn't the last stop of the race, maybe you need a couple more laps under fuel. Maybe you just try to survive for a couple laps. You run up front, maybe try to defend a little bit from the guys on fresh tires, and then when you come in down pit road, ideally under caution, that's when you take a couple laps to get your tires up to speed, and then you'd be darn quick by the end. And if we didn't get a caution to the end and those guys who did just pit couldn't make it, suddenly you're the guy in the favorable spot, and we could see a win for the 26 cars. So don't mean to jinx them, don't mean to speak something into existence that may not come to fruition, but something to think about. Always fun to look out for the potentially alternative strategies here on the Bandit Racing League. Coverage from the Full Send Racing Network. Looking further back here, the lights on the pace car are off. One more lap to go here until green, until our next restart here on lap number 88. So not going to get a chance to go to an interview here, but want to very quickly here get a chance to do the through the field courtesy of Perfect Shine Auto Spa, kind of recap your top 5. And currently your top 5 in tonight's race, that begins with the guy we were just talking about a moment ago, Mr. Garrett Hall. Again, what's his strategic race going to look like here from this point onwards? That is the question. But for the time being, I think it's going to pay off for him. Like I said, I think that's alternative strategy there for the number 26. If he can run a couple laps up front and hope for a caution, could be that swing for the fences type move that leads him to a win. Nolan Gross, a quiet night for him so far. He qualified 21st, the number 02 car for Young Guns Racing, currently sitting on the inside of the front row there on the restart. So how will he keep up with the leaders on fresh tires? That's the important question. Brandon Jackson led a large portion of the race at the early stages, and he was tonight's Rogue Energy Pole Award winner. We know he's got pace. Will he carry it over? Nick Nickerson on the inside of row number 2. A very worthy opponent indeed. We'll continue this through the field segment in just a moment, but for now, Garrett Hall, the 26 car, first restart of the race, and I think his first restart he's led this season. Takes us down to turn number 1. Good start for the 26 car, but an even better start for the 99 of Brandon Jackson. Fresh tires, and I think those are about to pay off for him all the way around. Through turns number 1 and 2, the 99 car. Back to the point. And caution coming out almost immediately. Massive wreck further back. A couple big names involved. Hunter Henry, Gary Moore. A couple other guys. Brett Grunwald. Cody Welch involved, I'm seeing on my telemetry. He's falling through the order. The 85 car just... Does it ever end for the poor guy? We try to kind of keep the mentions of him to a minimum tonight. I always hate jinxing Cody. I largely feel the broadcast is responsible for some of the streak that we've seen since Rockingham for him for Season 8, but all the Cody Welch fans, that is not what they wanted to see, though minimal damage, it would appear, actually, for the 85 car. He's not going to come down pit road this time, so clearly not going to be quite that dire, not that urgent, so... Just scrolling back here, but here we go. We're going to go to your Apex Sim Racing replay tonight for the 6th time in tonight's race, I believe, and see what brought out the 6th caution. So that was a 3 wide gone wrong. That was a high speed wreck, too. Probably the highest speed we've seen all night here at Kansas. But let's go to a better perspective here. We're going to look from one of our helicopter cameras coming off of turn number 4. So Welch kind of got involved in the aftermath. So let's look up a little bit further. No, actually, so I thought there was an incident up front, but this was the catalyst, it would seem. So, once again, off of turn number 2, there's the 85 of Welch, there's the 8 of Foster, the 9 car is Henry. So, Daffin up on the top side, goes to the top. I think Cody Welch, I don't know if he cleared himself early or if the 9 car kind of gestured around there in the middle of that 3 wide, maybe had a little bit more lateral movement than was actually there. But Cody just kept getting hit, bounced and bounced and bounced, and finally came to a rest there on turn number 3, a full straightaway away from where he wrecked. But Brett Grunwald as well, driver number 18 car, he's just came down pit road a moment ago. He was involved, and of course, Hunter Henry there getting caught in it. So we're going to go from the onboard here from Hunter Henry's perspective. So here's Henry in the middle. Yeah, I think just a little bit too much of an overcorrection on the steering wheel there towards the exit. So kind of flicked it a little bit too hard. The back end kicked on him a little bit. That kicked his front nose to the left a little bit more than it was intended. And when you're running in that close quarters with the guy right to your inside, that is all it takes to cause a pretty massive pile up. And that's what we just saw here. So Cody Welch going to exit back onto the racetrack in 20th. Back up to the front of the field here, it is again Brandon Jackson and Nick Nickerson swapping spots there on that last restart. So I think the 2 and the 99 effectively, at least on pure pace, are the 2 guys to beat tonight. And I feel like there's very little evidence to suggest anything else. Nolan Gross, though, it was only, I think, a lap, maybe 2 laps into that stint. But still, Nolan Gross kept his spot. I think he lost it right off the bat to Brandon Jackson on that very first lap of the restart. But he did get a spot, I believe, on Alec Daffin. Yes, he did. So past the 48 car, a former race winner this season, so that should definitely suggest something about the 05 car, the 02 car, and his ability to run here later in the stint on older sets of tires. But we'll kind of continue that through the field segment we were doing just a moment ago here on behalf of the Perfect Shine Auto Spa, one of our favorite sponsors here on the Bandit Racing League. Just back to our through the field segment momentarily, we talked about Gross, we talked about Daffin. Lacy tonight pretty typical night for Benjamin Lacy. I've started kind of calling him the closer, more so behind the scenes than I do on the broadcast, but I think it's a very accurate sentiment because he just always finds a way here at the end of these races to be in the favorable spot, on the favorable strategy, fastest car in the field on a fresh set of tires, and he finds a way to win them late. I don't know if we're going to see that again tonight because it's proven to be very competitive here. This Kansas racetrack is creating all sorts of fun battles, and I think Benjamin is going to have his work cut out for him to beat every single driver in this field here, especially with guys like Jackson and Nickerson. I think are just on a slightly different level, but I don't mean to count him out, and you certainly can't when it comes to Benjamin Lacy, so keep an eye on him to the last 30 laps of tonight's race. Christopher Hamilton here, the Tempe, Arizona native. Kind of a weird night so far for the driver of the number 15 for GFR Racing. It's been successful, generally speaking. He's been in the top 10 pretty much all night, but his GFR Racing teammates have constantly been around him. He's been swapping spots throughout, but it just hasn't felt like he's had that consistent momentum to get to the top of the race order. Aside from that pack he's in, like he hasn't seemed to be able to get into the 4s, the 3s, that section of the field up towards the front, but he's on a fresh set of tires. He's got the field stacked up. If he can get a good start, which Christopher has been pretty good at so far this season, I've noticed, could be a pretty good start for him that could lead potentially to his first lead of the race, maybe even his first win in the Bandit Racing League. Finally, we're going to cap it off with two more drivers, one of whom is your defending series champion, Brett Guzik, in that lime green number 04 car. Another guy who's had kind of a quiet year, which is uncharacteristic for the defending series champion, but just really this year it's been about the consistent finishes for Brett. Hasn't been involved in too many late race battles for the win, and is instead just focused on the racking up points, doing what he can to take away the maximum that 04 car can give him on a weekly basis, and what more could you ask for from a driver trying to win a championship? And one more guy to round it off, Tony Hilbrands. He qualified 9th, he sits 9th, and I don't know, it's been a weird night here for Tony, but don't be surprised if we see that number 92 car, a former Final Four competitor last season in the trucks, having a pretty good finish at a track discipline that suits him well in the past. But here we go, we are green, and Benjamin Lacy sends it 3 wide into turn number 1. Barely had a chance to go over anything there on the restart, and suddenly the 7 car is not only up 1 spot, but he's about to get Alec Dapp, and that's about to be 2 spots. Further back, 3 wide, Nolan Gross getting swallowed up by a couple lead cars on fresh tires, one of whom is Brett Guzik. Another is Michael Ramos going around to either side of the O2. But back up to the point here, it is Jackson, it is Nickerson, and to a lesser extent, Benjamin Lacy, who is again still trying to get by Daffin, but is about to be there in a moment if he can do so. Maybe I reverse commentator jinxed him just now. Maybe I counted him out a little bit too early and absolutely didn't mean to do that, but I do think there's a ton of pace there up front in those 2 cars. If they just stop battling each other, I think they may start breaking away, but we will see. We're going to go on board here for just a moment with the number 7 car as he tries to not only track down Lacy, but track down Daffin, but try to keep pace with your front 2 leaders who are side by side here off of turn number 4. You see Lacy running that high side, falling right in behind the 2 car of Nick Nickerson, whereas again, Jackson back to that line he was running quite a bit earlier, that inside the line, trying to use the more aggressive banking there on the bottom, kind of trying to fling the car around off the exit of the corner. And it's working. He's keeping pace with the 7 of Lacy, but I think that over the course of the rest of the run, if we can go to the end of the race under green, I think that outside line is going to be so much more sustainable. And we're seeing that right now for current race leader Nick Nickerson. Again, former winner here 2 seasons ago at Kansas, last time we were in the Xfinity cars in the Bandit Racing League. And so far he's proven all throughout tonight's race that he has the pace, and we know if anybody has the experience, has the poise to win 3 races in a row in a season where very few drivers have won any races more than one. Only one other driver, that being Benjamin Lacy, has multiple wins this year, and Nick could be on pace for 4. What another classic season for the 2 car. You got to think in the greatest Bandit Racing League drivers of all time discussion, he alongside his fellow teammate Kevin Foster definitely got to be in that conversation. Off of turn number 2 though, it's Nickerson, it's Lacy, and to a lesser extent again Jackson kind of falling back here as we come towards 25 laps to go. He's actually under attack from Michael Ramos, who 19 spots gained from 23rd to 4th at this point in the race. And kind of a weird event so far for Michael Ramos. Haven't noticed him much throughout the order, but now he's getting involved, and he's doing so against one of the best in the series. The 27 and the 99 have had some good battles. Both guys who are very talented at intermediates, and here we go. Both starting to track down the front 2, actually. Nobody in this top 4 really giving up an inch to one another. So it's Nickerson, but it is not Not smooth sailing whatsoever at this point in the race for your former series champion. Again, I gotta give him credit. Lacy is tracking him down. He's staying with the 2 car. You see up on the high side off of 4 this time by. He's getting there. He's gaining. Actually might have a shot here into turn number 1. 25 laps to go here at Kansas. And there he goes underneath the 7 car. Is going for win number 3. Trying to tie Nick for most in the series this season. And what a way to do it here. Just to beat him flat out under green. Again, we don't know if we're going to go to the end under green or if we'll get a caution. But for the time being, I think this battle, and by extension Ramos and Jackson's result in this battle for 3rd, I think that's going to determine the race lead as long as we don't get that caution, which of course can throw the entire race order into chaos. But again, the 7 car is getting close, just hasn't made that big attacking sweep quite yet. But you got to think he's going to try it later in the run. And don't forget about Michael Ramos either. He's right there behind after that battle with Brandon Jackson. He's in a favorable spot, and you got to think if that was the last pit stop, tire strategy or not, even if he's on fresh tires, it's not really going to matter. I think it's... Could we see the 27 in play for his first win of the season? We'll find out in the next couple laps. Across the tri-oval once again, 23 laps to go now. Once again, Nickerson still trying to hold off the 7 car of Benjamin Lacy. This has only really been the battle for those of you who may be just joining us who have joined mid-race. This has only really been the effective battle for the lead in the last 10 or 20 laps. I know they've been dominant this season. Might seem like they've been this way the entire race, but no, I assure you that is not the case. We've seen a number of guys particularly quick, including Brandon Jackson, who sits just outside of that top battle for the front 3. A little ways further back, trying to keep an eye on some of these battles towards the back half of the top 10. It's Alec Daffin versus Curtis Yancey. Remember, Curtis was a lap down there early on in tonight's event. Since then, he has made his way back. He's fought his way back through, and he sits just in front of Ricky Hart Jr., who is also fat back after that earlier weird incident in turn number 1 where he got loose, shot off down the inside, was lucky to avoid a wreck, and has now worked his way back up to speed. So, through turn number 3 and 4, now to 22 laps to go. These battles are important to watch as well. Always want a top 5 whenever you can get one in the Bandit Racing League, but this is the battle to watch. 21 to go. Here comes Benjamin Lacy. Down to the inside goes the 7 car, running that new white and green livery he's run the last 2 weeks. And it is going toe-to-toe there with that GFR Racing Big Red Propane number 2, a guy who's seems to be week by week getting in more and more of a rhythm. That's the last thing you want if you're Benjamin Lacy, is to watch Nick Nickerson racking up the wins. Could be 4 on the season this week, and what a battle we're having. Back and forth we go. One guy gets a good run in one corner, another guy slips up in another. And now we are down to 20 laps to go. That's about 10 minutes race time if we don't get a caution. So it is going to be over soon here on the Bandit Racing League coverage of tonight's race at Kansas. And who's tonight's winner going to be? Battle for 4th as Ramos continues to chug ahead up front, continuing to stay in the top 3 in the podium spots. But it's Daffin up on the high side. Jackson back to the inside the line. He thinks it's the best way to go. And seeing the pace he had earlier on, I don't think there's any reason to not suggest that Brandon knows what he's doing. So he is going to continue to try to defend from the 48 car. They're almost dead even down the inside of the tri-oval. Going to go on board here from Christopher Hamilton's perspective. Always like trying to get these shots from on board the car. Do we have a caution? We see smoke there a little ways up front. Nobody in the front couple entries involved. So it might have just been a lap car going around. We stay green. But here's the onboard gyro cam from Christopher Hamilton's number 15 car, the Tempe, Arizona native, sitting right behind Curtis Yancey there, driver the number 51. He just got passed by the number 1 car of Ricky Hart Jr. Ricky and Yancey side by side. Here comes Hamilton again, going to get a good run into the corner. Doesn't have to worry about anybody in his inside line because the next car, Brett Guzik, is... Actually, it might be side by side now that I say that. I think Brett has made up a considerable amount of ground the last couple of corners. You saw there the number 15 of Hamilton was kind of scooting away a little bit off it too, but Guzik is in the conversation, and as we come to 17 to go, Time is getting slimmer and slimmer, but back to the front and starting to open up a gap again. It's the man himself, Nick Nickerson. How does he do it? We may never know, but could be on pace for, again, win number 3 in a row to kick off what has been an incredible start to kind of the middle of the season, middle of the regular season at least, in the Bandit Racing League Geezer Authentics Xfinity Series for the number 2 car. Back to a side-by-side battle for 5th, the last position here in the top 5, and it's the 99 and the 1 going at it into, I guess, a secondary extent, the 48 car, who was right there. Almost got tagged there on the exit of 4 by Brandon Jackson, but they stay clean. They're clean drivers. They know what they're doing. And now we are down to 16 laps to go. Back up front, the gap's coming down again a little bit. Lacy lost a couple tenths there. You saw those last couple laps and started to fall back, but now working his way back up front. Let's do a lap time comparison here between your top 2 drivers. So you see on lap number 108, you see it was Nickerson who was a little bit quicker there, that 2.3 tenth gap, but no, last time by it was a full 1.2 tenths for Lacy. What was the gap this time? Another 1.3. Lacy's getting quicker. Maybe the wily-wheeled veteran, the guy who is so good at strategy, the guy who's so good at strategizing conservation, maybe he's got a trick up his sleeve. Maybe he knows those tires are better than Nick's are at this point in the stint. Could we see yet another win by the number 7 car to really cement himself as arguably this season, maybe no doubt, top 2, top 3 guy in the series? And what a season it could be for Benjamin Lacy if he can keep up this pace early on. But 14 laps to go. The 7 car still trying to track down the 2. Way below the inside line there a moment ago was somebody. I don't know if it was a lap car dipping out of the way or what, but whatever that was, back up to this battle. We're going to go 3 wide. Almost went 3 wide there on the tri-oval, but Brandon Jackson just barely getting the back end of that number 99 car up in front of Hart to stop his momentum, prevent him from making the move there. Off of turn number 2 we go. Jackson continuing to lead now at Daffin and Hart. I think Hart might take a shot here this time at the inside down to turn number 3. We are coming to 12 laps to go. Remember, that's about 6 minutes time in real world time here. So again, we are coming to the end of the race. Keep an eye out on that caution. That could change everything, but right now it is back to this battle between the 2 and the 7. The gap down to 2 tenths. We got to stay locked on this. These are probably the 2 most premier drivers this series in the Bandit Racing League, and very rarely do you get to see 2 guys just flat out duking it out for a win here. And this could be one of the battles to watch of the entire season. And here we go. The 7 car way up to the high side. He carries a ton of speed into those second 2 corners, whereas I think Nick maybe a little bit faster at the beginning of the lap. So interesting to watch the comparison here. But here we go. Benjamin Lacy, let's go back to the gyro cam for him. Here we go, this time by 10 laps to go here on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the No Place Like Home 125 here at Kansas, presented by Kevin Foster, driving the number 8 car, longtime series supporter. A little ways further back, battle here for 5th. Hamilton, the only guy down the inside, as he watches Ramos, Hart, and Brett Guzik all going on the high side, all trying to carry that momentum off of 2. Works for the first 2. Can Guzik get it done? Might not. Is the 15 car going to try to slide up in front? He is. And Ricky Hart Jr. going to go to the bottom now in his replacement. Here we go. The 1 car and the 27 car duking it out here. And a battle for the final spot here in the top 4. And effectively could become the top 5 as Guzik tries to get involved. He's going to peak high. Does he go all the way around Hart? Left him in the lane, did the 1 car of Ricky Hart Jr., but Brett Guzik did not take it. Again, 9 laps to go here, down to the single digits. And an important thing to keep an eye on, these guys are starting to catch lap traffic. If we go to a really wide cam, which we should be able to get a good one here in just a moment, pretty wide camera here, you'll start to see those lap cars starting to peek into frame. And I know here in the Bandit Racing League, the drivers are genuinely good, those who are a lap down, about getting out of the way, letting the leaders race. But if you get too many of them one after another, eventually you're going to make a mistake and just pass a guy on the wrong side. And what a heartbreaking way to give up a victory here in a season where these two guys are back and forth trying to declare themselves the current regular season leader in points and maybe the best driver flat out in the Bandit Racing League. So a lot of stakes riding on this one, but that's Gary right there, the number 6 car, who they're going to sling by on the inside. So there we go. The 2 and the 7 now coming to 7 laps to go. Is this Benjamin Lacy's lap here as we get to his exact number on the to-go tracker? Could be actually a pretty good start there. Carried the momentum quite well into 1 and 2. Could this be a chance? I think Lacy should get a pretty good run off there off the corner. It's going to get close. Is this his chance? No, he's going to back out for a moment, but is not too far off as of yet. Nick is I think these defending laps are beneficial for him. I think he'll conserve tires better. Lacy's got a pit. Benjamin Lacy, the strategy master, the closer I've often called him, comes down pit road, won't make it to the end on fuel, and that could change everything from second all the way back already into the 15s. Benjamin Lacy and Tony Hilbrand's down pit road. That could be their chances at the win gone up in smoke right as the battle for the lead was about to get really, really good. Here's Ricky Hart Jr. trying to make his way back into the podium spots. He's right in the back bumper of Michael Ramos and Christopher Mitchell. Don't forget about him. He's not too far back, as it's Alec Daffin, Kevin Foster, Joshua McQuiggan, and Curtis Yancey, who now comes down pit road, rounding off the top 10. Put Robert Mathis in his spot now as the top 10, now made up of drivers who have yet to pit. And the question is, are guys going to want to? I mean, Nick, now your race leader, he's got a full second back to Brandon Jackson. You know, he doesn't want to be conserving too hard, but the worst thing that can happen to your race leader is to run out of fuel. He's losing tenths. He's losing a full tenth, maybe 2 tenths every 2 or 3 seconds. I don't know if he's starting to conserve a little bit harder, but he's coming to 4 to go here. So 4 laps to go, 6 more miles here at Kansas. Can Nick make it to the end, or could we see Brandon Jackson, the 99 Action Jackson, could we see him get his first win of the season on an economy run? A strategy that I've never really associated with the 99 car in the past. So we will see. 4 to go. Further back, a couple more battles settling themselves out. Ricky Hart Jr. got Ramos, but Christopher Hamilton got both of them. So Christopher Hamilton could out of nowhere be finding himself on the podium for I think the 2nd or 3rd time this season. But back up to the front, Nickerson is fading. Now 3 to go, 4.5 miles. We're getting to the end, but he's given up a ton of time per lap here to Brandon Jackson. Just compare that last time by, he lost 3.5 tenths, 2.5 the lap before, 2.5 the lap before. That gap is fading. And you got to wonder, maybe Nick's saving a little bit extra fuel just for the last lap to have something left to defend if he needs to. He's now coming to 2 to go, but that gap continues to shrink, now down to 4 tenths. Gonna be 3 tenths in a moment. Is Nick gonna pit? He's not, but here comes Jackson. Brandon Jackson could capitalize on just the tiniest strategical mishap from Nick. Here he goes, top side. Brandon Jackson, 2 more laps to go, 3 miles here at Kansas. Does the crossover in the 99 car up top at the start, down low by the exit. Nick throws an aggressive move there down to try to get back in the slipstream on the backstretch, but it doesn't matter for the moment. Coming to 1 lap to go. Brandon Jackson takes the lead with 2 to go. Can he cap it off? Does he have the fuel to make it to the end? Apex Sim Racing white flag, courtesy of Apex Sim Racing. 1 more to go here at Kansas in the There's No Place Like Home 125, presented by Kevin Foster. Around turns number 1 and 2 one more time. Nickerson is fading. He's got to be running low. He's got to be on fumes. He's got a second back to Hamilton. But can he coast it home for the win? That's the question. But 1 more time into 3 and 4. He never does it on fuel runs. He always does it on track. He's Action Jackson for a reason. But tonight he was Reaction Jackson. He reacted to the fuel strategy. He played it to perfection. And now the 99 car is back in victory lane in the Bandit Racing League. Brandon Jackson, your winner here at Kansas. What a race for Brandon Jackson. Brandon Jackson, your race winner at Kansas. As at the end, Nickerson did run out of fuel, only came home for 5th as he dropped right off of turn number 4. So Christopher Hamilton and Ricky Hart, 2 of his GFR Racing teammates, they're going to take the final 2 podium spots. Then it's Alec Daff, and you see there in the background of your screen there, the 48 car finishes in 4th position. But what a race for Brandon. That's one that a lot of guys in the series are going to be happy with, and hopefully you guys there at home, I know he's got some great support for it, especially from people that watch the broadcast through me. Everybody I talk to always seems to be a massive fan of Brandon. But what an explosive, what an exciting personality here, and we got a lot to talk about. So I'm excited for your interview here with Brandon, but we will get there in just a moment. The burnouts have begun. Brandon Jackson, your winner at Kansas. First win on the season, and your first win since relatively late in season number 9. He continues to burn it up, but let's bring him right in the broadcast booth. I don't see much reason to wait. Let's get his interview started. We know he's gonna be pumped right now. Brandon Jackson joins us in the Full Center Racing Network broadcast booth. Tonight's race winner here at Indianapolis. Sorry, just a moment, folks. Mr. Brandon Jackson, do you got a copy?
Let's go!
Apologies there to those of you watching at home and anything less than 0 volume. Brandon, you are back, my man. Victory lane for the 99 car. Pole to the win. We talked to you earlier. You're here, man. Just say words, Brandon. You know the deal.
Let's go! Oh my God! I was saving for like the last 25 since we went green. I already realized, man, it's gonna be tight. And from like basically after the first 5-7 laps, man, after that restart, I was just running the bottom, getting off the gas early, letting it just coast into the bottom and just letting it roll. Maybe going about half throttle through the center and just picking it up on the exit, man. Wow.
Wow.
I don't even think I ran the high side all night. That's, man, wow. What a race.
What a race indeed. Just, yeah, you were running the bottom line like nobody else on track. It was such a different strategy, but you were making it work. And how are you kind of reacting to what's become a common kind of storyline in this series, but the cautions? You know, we weren't sure how many we were going to get. We went green to the end. Do you think with more cautions at the end, you had a shot there on the short runs? Were you glad it went green to the finish?
I figured I would have a good shot, whether it was a short run or a long run. I really wanted to see that race play out from like lap 80 and then just go green from there. Because I knew we would probably have to pit around 110, 115 would probably be the last time we pit if we went green. And man, it was a guessing game, and under caution coming to the green, I checked the fuel and I was like, ooh, we're gonna be a little tight. So that came in the factor for me pretty early, and I don't think the top 2 guys recognized that until late, before it was too late.
Well, Brandon Jackson, always a step ahead, I like to think. Some nights a step behind at certain tracks, but some nights when you got it locked down at a certain track, Brandon, you are almost unstoppable. Again, a pole to win conversion, one of the few we've seen in a while in this series. So just, wow, what does this do for you, Brandon? I know you're in a like hit or miss spot as far as the points go. Sometimes you miss the occasional race, but what's the big picture for you this season? You get the win tonight. You've come so close a couple times. I know that 99 car is one of the 11 best in the series. It's a question of what are you going to do with this as we come towards the halfway point in the regular season now that you got a win under your belt?
Man, we got to finish, man. First 4 or 5 races of the season, I did not finish. I don't even think I got a top 20 finish. And we didn't even get to Daytona in time. Our hauler got stuck in traffic. So, man, I just got to win out. Not even win out, just run good, run consistent, be back up here where I belong, man. Wow. Wow.
Brent, I don't know if you got the words to put into, but I know you got some people you always want to thank. And of course, I will say personally, as I always say, everybody I know that watches the series supports you. I got a lot of Brandon Jackson fans in my life. But anybody you got at home, any sponsors, any shout-outs you want to give, or of course, anybody supporting you, give them a shout-out.
Oh, man. Of course, got to shout out Bill. Runs a really good league, man. If anybody's looking to join a league next season, this is the one to join. It is awesome. Really, I'm gonna keep it really short today, and just good win. On a sour note, though, as I said earlier, your heart goes out to those families that lost a young one at a very early age. You know, I personally don't have a kid, but I could only imagine what they're going through on having to bury their child that really didn't even graduate his first, 5 years of school. You know, you almost hate to see it. Well, you don't almost, you hate to see it. And kudos to the law enforcement in that area with their quick reaction and to neutralize the threat. That was very good on their part. And you got to feel for the teachers that were doing their hardest to protect the kids and ended up costing their lives too. So, the heart goes out to all that family, all the area. All I can do is just, pray and try to support them any way best I can. But, that's something you don't want to hear. But to get on a little bit of a lighter note, 99's back, baby. Hey, we got a podium we got a podium at Nashville, but hey, we got the dub today. Hey, free wings are on me. We're heading out to party.
Oh, Brandon, it's always a pleasure getting the chance to talk to you, man. Great to talk to you there mid-race. Didn't jinx you on the commentary booth. Didn't jinx you with the pole. And you bring it home, man. First of the season for the 99. Don't make it the last. Street Boss 24 on Twitch. I'll shout it out. Go check him out if you haven't before. One of these days we got to link it in the broadcast description. But, Brandon, congratulations. Shout out to your Twitch audience. And just, way to go, man. Way to be back. It's great to talk to you as always.
Hey, I'm good to be back, baby. Y'all have a good week. I'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
We will indeed. Always a pleasure, man. I love talking to Brandon. Seeing that energy is like nothing else in the series. Not the guys in the series don't love to win. Not that they don't care. Of course they do. Everybody in this series wants to pick up a race win, as much as anybody else. But man, Brandon's just got that fire to him, and when he can turn it into a good race at a track he likes, at a track that he's willing to put in the practice at, he's almost unstoppable. So, what a guy, what a win. Race winner, first of the season here tonight at Kansas. That being said, we're on your second interview of the night with, well, not your race winner, but a guy who came pretty darn close, about as close as you can get here. Runner-up finish with that late race running out of fuel situation there for teammate Nick Nickerson. It's Christopher Hamilton finishing second tonight at Kansas. Let's get him in the broadcast booth. Hey, Chris, Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, Chris. Well, congratulations, man. Everything just seemed to shake out well for you there at the end. You're running pretty consistently top 5, top 10 pace most of the race. You're running with your GFR racing teammates most of the time. But walk us through the phases there at the end as your teammate Nick runs out of fuel and you scoop up the second place there at the end.
Yeah, so everyone, I was starting to save fuel basically as soon as that green flag was going. And I think it paid off because I was able to be just about make it, and I actually just started sputtering coming to the finish, so I was like, hey, it's after the race, I'm good now. That's why I kind of just parked it right here. Yeah,
I know, it came darn close, and I think a lot of people were maybe not prepared to anticipate the end of the race being as close on fuel as it was going to be. I don't know about you, but what were you strategizing? Like, we've seen a lot of cautions late in the races these last few weeks. Were you anticipating that, and did that affect the way you tried to play the late race situation?
Absolutely. So I saw that it was going to be really close, and everyone has these like fancy calculators, and I can hear Nick saying like, oh, we're going to be, X amount to the good, X amount to the bad. And what it turned into was I was just checking my fuel every so often in that lap count. And once I got it right even with the laps to go, I'm like, okay, that's it. Whether win, lose, or draw, if this thing sputters, but I think I have enough to the end, and I think it paid off.
As far as like overall lap pace, and take strategy out of it tonight, just How do you treat these intermediates? Is this a kind of a discipline, as they're all decently similar in a lot of ways? Is the intermediate racetrack a discipline that you feel pretty comfortable at? And overall, do you think you would have had the pace if we got a late race caution to challenge Brandon for the win?
If we got a late race caution, I think it would have been completely upside down. But yeah, everyone's so close. I think the practice times, they were within a second. So it was just getting your track position early and making the moves when they present themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, you seem to be very capable of doing so tonight. You were finding your opportunities, and most notably there at the end, you rack up another good haul of points. You've been doing really well for yourself in the points overall this season. Just what's it like? What's the atmosphere right now for the 15 car? Do you feel like you're just racking up points on the way to a berth in the playoffs, and then you'll go from there? Or what's the expectation right now for the 15 car?
Expectations minimizing mistakes. Last week, I made a pretty big mistake coming on to pit road and brought out a caution, and it's just been a roller coaster of a season. So I said at the beginning, I want to minimize mistakes and learn. That has been my biggest goal, and if the wins come, sure, I feel like I could have won if things went a little bit more my way, since I think I was to the good, but Brandon was already way out before me. But yeah, minimizing mistakes and hopefully making the playoffs. If I can make the playoffs, that would be a win in my book, and then I can turn over a new page and focus on those last 12 races.
I think I'd give you about as good a shot as anybody there in the playoffs with the kind of consistent week-by-week pace I know you can put up, and I think guys trying to minimize mistakes with pre-existing pace is better than the other way around, trying to find pace where you don't have it. So we know you have it, Chris, and we've seen it multiple times now this season. Not your first podium, not the first time we've talked to you, but you know what to do at the end of the interviews. You're getting more and more frequent over here, so if you have any shout-outs, any friends and family you want to mention, any sponsors, anything like that, now's your chance.
First, huge shout-out to Vet Motorsports coming on board. They have been such a huge part of both my sim racing as well as my IRL racing, Grass Paddock Motorsports as well. Thank you so much if you are watching out there, Frank. Thank you to Ryan McCauley. He does a great job on these paints each and every week. We got some special ones coming up that I'm excited to show off. Huge thanks to the GFR Racing team. They have been incredible teachers even before I got more invested in the Bandit, and then actually being more integrated with them, I've learned a lot from them, and I know I got much to learn. And thank you for broadcasting. I really appreciate it. And everyone else watching, we appreciate you.
Perfect. Always a pleasure, Chris. It's so nice to get to know guys like you this season that I never really got the chance to in previous years. But yeah, you and the GFR guys have been knocking it out of the park. You guys were pretty constantly in the top 10 tonight, top 5 area even. So you guys got something special working on over there, and I know that you'll only get better and better as you work with those former champions of the series. So best of luck, Chris, going forward. Get the week off, enjoy it, and then we'll see you in a couple weeks back in Atlanta.
Oh boy, I'm excited. I'll see you there.
See ya. There you go, Christopher Hamilton. Good to start to get to know him as a driver these last couple weeks, really this season in general. You know, a guy that we saw a couple times in a couple one-offs in season 9, was always quick, but maybe didn't quite have the week by week, even just the attendance consistency to really factor in. But this year, running full time, running for a top team, he's looked pretty darn good doing it. So with that, we are going to round it off with your final interview of the night with a guy that kind of snuck in there at the very end. We wouldn't have been talking to him if Nick hadn't run out of fuel, but he did. Ricky played the strategy well. And now we go to Ricky Hart Jr., driver the number 1 car, for your final interview tonight at Kansas. Hey, Ricky Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Marshall, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Ricky. It was a barn burner of a race to watch, and I'm sure you know that from your perspective there tonight. Just what a finish, what a wacky end of the race. Just talk us through the sort of pace you had there at the end as you were picking through a couple cars to get to this spot, and then once Nick ran out of fuel, you sweep up the podium there at the end.
Yeah, GFR Racing was talking right there at the end on that last pit stop and then the caution that it was going to be close with fuel, and me and Kevin had to pit. So me and Kevin we knew we were good. We weren't sure if we were 100%, but as the laps were winding down, I knew I was good. So I wasn't slowing up. I was going full speed. Some of those other guys were trying to save a little there at the end, because I knew they were about a lap short, maybe 2 laps short. So I had nothing to lose. I was just trying to get to the front, just trying to string them together and get through them this season.
Yeah, and in the end, you managed to make it work, and I feel like this year has really been the year of adaptability for the Bandit Racing League. A lot of guys having to kind of predict strategy, kind of make bold calls. And you're a veteran of the series, one of the most experienced guys, obviously a former champion back in season 7. So what's it been like this year back to the Xfinity cars, not the car you won in season 7 when you won the championship? So how have you found the pace been in that number 1 car for GFR Racing? We've seen you in the top 5, but we've seen some races where you just haven't quite looked like the same sort of driving style you had in the truck. So just what do you think your overall comfort level is, and what should we expect from you in 2 weeks at Atlanta?
The pace has picked up so much this season. I think in practice, all the drivers were within a second of each other. And it's showing on track. Everybody is so tight. Everybody is so close. You get mired back there. I was back there in like 15th, 20th for a little bit. And, you know I got speed, but everybody in front of you is just too wide. And they're running for like 4 laps like that, and it's happening all over the track.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has picked up the pace. Everybody is trying to move to the front, and everybody's doing a good job. And it's very difficult lately just to string a whole race together, and kind of capitalize and get to the end. I think I just got lucky because I got in that last wreck, and I knew I had the fuel and I had a little bit more speed around those guys that were, trying to save some. Just a little bad luck there, kind of all throughout the second half of the race. Just kept getting caught up in some different things, but I'll take it. 3rd place is good. We're on the right track. Hopefully I can take this momentum to Atlanta. Atlanta's a good track for me. These mile and a halves, I think these are really where I won my championship back the last time, where I was on these mile and a half. So if I keep getting good runs like this and keep stringing them along, it looks promising.
Yeah, that's the sort of mindset you need this year for the no wins to get in the playoffs, just points over the top 11 sort of format. So yeah, when it comes to racking up points consistently, I know even if the wins haven't been there so far yet this season for the 1 car, the points performances have been. So you're getting closer and closer, Ricky. You come away with a 3rd tonight, and a couple weeks in Atlanta. That's the type of racetrack that I expect to see a veteran such as yourself, but a guy with your skill set to do quite well at. So with that being said, the deal, you've been here in the broadcast booth for a couple of years now, and a number of different cars. So you know what to do. Shout outs to friends and family at home. Any sponsors you want to mention, now's your chance.
Shout out to, GFR, the whole Bandit Racing League. Brandon, I want to say congrats. This race kind of meant a lot to him. Going into it, he said some things early on in the race, and I think it resonated with a lot of us. And as upset as I am that I didn't get 1st place this finish, I'm glad it went to Brandon. So kudos to him. He did a good job.
No, I appreciate. I'm sure he'll appreciate the shout out. And yeah, you guys have been 2 of the very best in the series for a very long time. So I look forward to more battles between you guys. Maybe closer on track there at the end for next time. But these fun fuel races are always exciting nonetheless. So you get a week off, Ricky. Get some time to spend with the friends and family and the kids. But 2 weeks, we expect you back in Atlanta. We expect the 1 car going for that win again.
Yeah, if Brand keeps racing me the way he is, I'm going to give him the bumper.
Sounds good. That's what we like to hear. See you in a few weeks, Ricky.
Thank you, Marshall. See you.
There you go. With that, that'll round off your final interview of the night here with longtime veteran and tonight's 3rd place finisher here at Kansas, Mr. Ricky Hart Jr. That's going to about round us off tonight. It's been a long broadcast. Again, I don't like to keep you guys up too much, and we're getting to that point where this season's really picking up. We've had some quality races back to back to back. Tonight's race was really fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and that finish was well worth the price of admission, but just generally some great racing throughout the field all the way through. You see up the top of the screen, you've seen your final results here, so thank you to Perfect Shine Auto Spa, as always, for presenting your final results here for the Bandit Racing League. But let's run you through your sponsors, as always. iRacing, some of the licenses to put us on at the bottom left of your screen. Geezer Authentics, of course, our source for all the merch in the Bandit Racing League. You can find their link in the description below, or you can go to the Bandit Racing League website, and all of the merch is linked there. Remember, we got some new stuff for Eddie Haggy and Young Guns Racing, both available now at geezerauthentics.com. Go check it out. Other than that, the Apex Sim Racing is a affiliate of the series, and we are so glad to have them on board. Apex Sim Racing, a great place to go if you need any sim racing merchandise or anything to get yourself started in sim racing and potentially make it to the Bandit Racing League one day. Don't forget to use code BANDIT for 5% off your purchase. That's a pretty hefty amount when it comes to sim racing gear. So 5% discount, nothing to complain about, I'd say. Perfect Shine Auto Spot, as always, just mentioned them, but thank you to Kevin Foster, as of course, your sponsor for tonight's race, and the There's No Place Like Home 125. Again, shout out to Kevin Foster's parents out there in Pensacola, Florida. But Perfect Shine Auto Spot, a sponsor through Kevin, longtime sponsor of the series. Thank you, as always, and their website is, of course, linked down and in the description below. Other than that, there's Full Send Racing Network. That's us. That's us on YouTube. That's myself, Marshall Crocker Jr. Again, normally have some cohorts here alongside me, but tonight, busy night, didn't come together, so it was just me commentating solo, but hopefully you guys had a good time and always some good practice for my hopefully eventual commentating days to do it all solo for an entire night. So hopefully you guys had a good time. We will be back here on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the Bandit Racing League in 2 weeks' time. And one more shout out very quickly. Evan Wall Media, as always, the guy who puts together all these graphics, anything you see on screen, and often my co-commentator, Mr. Evan Wall. So go check his stuff out. He's got some new videos on his YouTube channel. All of the links to that are, as always, in the description below. But that'll about cap us off for tonight. There is the Season 10 schedule. Remember, we have a break next week. No race on Wednesday, but 2 weeks from now, we are back. We're going to Atlanta. A nice technical, again, 1.5 mile intermediate oval. That'll be a fun one. Atlanta always creates great races. And the week after, on the 15th of June, the number 95 car, myself, I'm going to make my debut here in the Bandit Racing League. We're going to have Evan running the broadcast, and I will be running and trying to put my my karting expertise and my road course knowledge to good use, trying to give you guys a win on behalf of the Full Send Racing Network. Well, for myself and everybody here involved in the Full Send Racing Network, from guys like Christopher Ferrara to guys like Evan Wall, everybody who helps this broadcast go every week, even if they're not here, I want to thank you guys sincerely. Also want to thank you guys at home, obviously, for watching. You guys are... I know it's cliche to say on any broadcast, any sort of thing of this type, but without you guys there at home, this would not be possible, and this series would not be what it is. So we sincerely thank all of you guys for watching each and every week, and for tuning in to races that can range from, well, it can get to Caution Fest at some points, but some races that are genuinely incredible, and I think tonight's race definitely fell towards the latter half. So on behalf of myself and, of course, tonight's race sponsor here, Kevin Foster, in the There's No Place Like Home 125 here at Kansas, I am Marshall Crocker Jr. It's been a blast this week, and we will see you all in 2 weeks. Remember, we get the week off on Wednesday. We'll see you all on June 8th at Atlanta. Have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you soon.